just sold some NFTs at Sotheby's.
Oh, really? This is like the two most crypto-oriented people I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even know they were.
Where I've built that reputation now from it, but a lot of people hide behind their pseudonymity because they thought, their friends thought, they're the crazy crypto guy that's believing in this magic internet money that's never going to make it.
The people that are trying to do these pump and dumps, they're Joe Schmo just trying to get by. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean that. they're just some schmo just trying.
I wish our listening audience could see Joe's face right now.
You could quit your job that you've hated for 5 years and you can do this, or you could try to ride the train and maybe it goes back down to zero like it has the last 5 times.
Yeah.
Reddit's creating an NFT marketplace. Robinhood's creating an NFT marketplace. Pretty much everyone's creating an
Fuck
NFT
Robinhood.
marketplace. Yeah. Right?
Sorry.
Did you see?
He couldn't sell his GameStop in time.
I like talking to crackpots every once in a while.
Yeah. Hello, family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Liem. This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube in 4K and audio streaming services like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now onto the podcast. Emma, do you want to continue with the nightclub kind of thing?
The nightclub bit.
If we're rolling in now, we were talking about nightclubs.
Yeah. If you guys want to continue, but we could go into NFTs or
NFTs,
whatever.
yeah, I just sold some NFTs at Sotheby's. Took a major L. Sotheby's did not.
L, huh?
Sotheby's did not do a good job marketing, but
I thought
it's
NFTs
okay,
were like winning the lottery. I thought
they are, yeah. So Sotheby's, world famous auction house.
Yeah.
Them and Christie's got into NFTs this year.
so
I
I hadn't heard that, but it totally makes sense.
So Sotheby's just started. They had a natively digital auction in April. That was their first one. This one that just concluded on Tuesday was 52 lots. I had 3 lots for Mooncats. I was written in an article with Paris Hilton and Steve Aoki, which was pretty weird because in crypto, everyone has like an alias. So my alias is Cat Dad. Okay. So I said Cat Dad, Paris Hilton, and Steve Aoki are having NFTs up for auction. I was like, this is a weird simulation.
No, it's good company.
Yeah. Also, so there's 19 collectors, 52 lots, 17 of us. I guess you can say all of us. We're all crypto pioneers, kind of. Most of them. I was probably one of the newer entrants. I didn't get into NFTs until March of this year in 2021. Been in crypto since April of 2017, so I've been in it for a little while.
Yeah.
So 2017.
That was a good time to get in.
Yeah. Was it the crash after the crash, or did you?
No, early. I bought Ethereum when it was $110. Bitcoin was my first Bitcoin purchase was 1,800.
So because there was I think
the crash was the end of beginning of 2018, and then there was a bear market.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was taking like half of what I was making from Omnia from the nightclub from 2017 until the crash of 2020, and just reinvesting it. Although in 2018 I did lose everything in an ICO, so I lost about 6.5 Bitcoin in mid 2018. Had to start all over again. Was acquiring Dogecoin throughout 2019. You can even go back on my Twitter in 2019. I'm like, if the internet ever figures out what this thing is gonna literally go into the moon. Sold too early though. Sold at 4.5 cents. Was enough money to quit my job comfortably for a few years. But if I would have just held for another 2 months, I probably wouldn't have had to work in my entire life. But I took half of those Doge profits and rolled them over into an NFT called Mooncats, which is what I was selling at Sotheby's. Mooncats this is going to sound pretty wild and probably a lot of crypto gibberish. They're the first generative art NFT ever. So basically they were the first NFT that was created by an algorithm and not created by an artist. So they're 25,440 pixelated digital cats. Where their DNA is expressed in their description. It's like a hexadecimal, so it's a bunch of numbers and letters. And all of those numbers and letters mean a specific direction, a color, a coat, certain things for how they were spit out.
Right.
It was
Their
also,
genes.
Yeah, their genes. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And so it was also the first cat NFT, which cats translate really well on the internet. As we see today, as we see today, Shiba's up like at 6 million% on the year, something like that. So dogs and memes do really well on fungible tokens, as we see with Doge, Shib, all these other weird derivatives. Cats do really well with NFTs. So cats are probably the most popular animal for NFTs.
Yeah.
So the fact that this was the first cat NFT and the first generative art, and it was the first NFT where you can name it, you can like personalize it. So that's kind of like what Pandora is known for.
Okay.
It was created in 2017. It didn't sell out because NFTs weren't popular, and it was actually a project that was abandoned.
Yeah.
And so
we had no idea about NFTs in 2017.
Yeah, so they're now. I'll finish the story and then I could kind of talk about it. They were forgotten about, and then in March of 2021, there were some people who rediscovered the project, and I went on crypto Twitter, and you had to interact with the raw contract in order to mint a Mooncat, and there was still 20,000 out of the 25,000 roughly that still had the ability to be minted, and it was for free. So basically, the whole entire crypto ecospace rushed over to mint these cats.
Yeah.
I think there was like 6,000 people for about 20,000 Mooncats that were able to claim something. Then there was about another 2,000 who were basically blocked out because of the mad rush.
So you and Paris Hilton got in.
Right, yeah. Paris Hilton didn't, but she was selling some art stuff. Paris Hilton's actually been in NFT since 2019. So seems like a cop out, but she's actually been in NFTs longer than I have. So props to Paris for either being very smart or having a good team around her.
Street cred, yeah.
So at the time, Mooncats were considered the second oldest NFT. Now, talking about this in October, they're like the 7th oldest NFT on Ethereum. And then Bitcoin has like 10 NFTs. And then there's like Namecoin that has like 10 NFTs. And so Mooncats kind of sparked this like NFT archaeological gold rush, where a lot of people are saying like, if these are the digital artifacts of the future that are very emblematic, or they resemble things like the Mona Lisa, there's a lot of these pieces that are going to be worth billions of dollars in the future, because whenever there's a digital representation of something in the physical world, it doesn't just equate to the value, it surpasses it by magnitudes, right? So like when Netflix disrupted Blockbuster, it didn't just equal the market cap of Blockbuster, it literally blew it out of the water. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon disrupted Walmart. Its market cap is literally like 10 times more than, maybe even more than that, than Walmart is currently today. So that now there's this like, that's why there's these crazy valuations. Like at Sotheby's, there was 5 to 7 NFTs that sold for over $1 million. The highest selling one was 3.5 million, which was for a rare Pepe, which is probably the most popular NFTs on Bitcoin, which is just, are you familiar with Pepe the Frog? The
no.
Like probably the most
yes.
It's the most popular meme on the internet. I heard somebody compare it to the Mickey Mouse of the internet, pretty much. And so these things called rare Pepes, there's 1,700 different rare Pepes, and it's just the meme frog combined with like cultural icons and things like that, like crypto references. Okay. And so some of these are now gaining like a lot of exposure as well, which is something also that I'm very heavily invested in, with the 2 NFTs being Mooncats and rare Pepes, and then I have a few other ones from there. But I look for like the historic artifacts. My first business in real life was an antique store out here in Vegas in 2017. And so that helped me kind of understand how to evaluate historical value in some sense. And so now the NFT collection that I have, supposedly still talking with Christie's, supposed to be doing that next month, hopefully at some point. Hopefully Noah doesn't hear this and says, what the fuck?
Because you're mad at Sotheby's?
No, I was originally talking with Christie's, and then Sotheby's just like DM'd me like 3 weeks before the auction, was like, hey, we know you have a big Mooncat collection. Would you like to be part of the auction? I was like, yeah, sure.
Nice.
But the Mooncat community is pretty cool, because I bought this specific Mooncat number 10, which is like, with Mooncats, the basic idea is like the lower the mint number, the better.
Sure. Yeah.
So I bought this one for 32 ETH like 2 months ago, and at the auction it's only sold for 11. So it would have taken about $100K loss. Oh. So one of the community members bought it and then said that he was going to sell it back to me for the sale price.
Oh, okay.
So just like a very good gesture for the community. So that saved me from about eating $100,000 because of Sotherby's. Whatever went wrong, whether it's because the NFTs are currently in a correction right now, or Sotheby's just did a really bad job at onboarding traditional investors from their auctions into NFTs. It's probably a combination of many different things.
Right.
And the crypto community is very upset about it. Because there was a lot of people who took a lot of L's and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of it.
Yeah.
So
is it that only certain people think that NFTs have a high value? To a lot of other people,
it's something that people are still trying to understand. It's the same thing with like Bitcoin, right? It's like now you're removing the tangible nature of something that's largely been known as physical in the real world, right? Money becoming digitized. People are still having a hard time understanding physical art pieces that are now digitized. People are having a hard time understanding, but it just makes sense if you understand like where the world is headed as the creator economy explodes. Everyone could profit off of their own name brand, and everything is becoming digitized and automated away. It just like makes more sense, especially with Generation Z and the majority of millennials living most of their lives online.
Dude, they're living on their cell phones.
Yeah. So it's like at that every Sunday, if you have an iPhone, you get that text that says like how much screen time you have, and it continually just keeps going up and up.
It's not discouraging anybody.
Yeah. So we're living in this digital world. And when I got into crypto in 2017, within a week, I was like, without a doubt, this is 100% the future of where we're going. And I've never been so convicted in my life. And
I go to the LVAC over on Flamingo and 215. And there's a couple of young guys I've seen in there lately that are clearly like the youngest people I've seen outside of high school, because you can tell in the way they dress and their hair and stuff. And their face,
they look depressed.
Well, no, kind of in that their face never leaves their cell phone.
Yeah.
Like every possible second that they're not like physically lifting weight or doing something, you know, even walking out to the car and stuff, they're not watching the street. Like they're crossing the street looking at their cell phone and stuff. And I'm not just like an old guy. It just seemed like an extreme, like every time I've seen, because I'm doing laps and I'm going to this section, and but every time I see these young guys, they're literally like just buried in their cell phones.
Yeah, so I mean, because now you don't need to be present in the real world, because you can just have all your groceries delivered. Remote working is here to stay. Companies are now saving money on commercial real estate because they can just have half the staff or more and just work from home.
Yeah.
So, and also everyone is now, at least there was a survey that came out a few years ago that was saying that over 50% of Gen Z's aspirations are to be a social media influencer of some sort, whether it's off of YouTube or Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where their headspace is at. I think it's just important to understand if you're a consumer of social media or a producer of social media. So those are kind of the two differentiators that I try to understand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so 50% of people can't be influencers, right? There's only a small percentage that can be.
No, I think everyone has potential too, of some sort. You just got to find what your niche is. I mean, there's influencers for things like mukbang and like little what is the little like aesthetic noises that you make? I forget what that's called.
Happy noises.
No, it's like
ASMR.
Yeah, ASMR. Yeah. So
I don't even know what that stands for.
one of my interns, she has a popular channel. If she's listening to this, probably gonna get mad at me for saying this.
We want to see her channel.
Her channel has, I think, like 20 or 30,000 subscribers, and she just does digital calendars where she takes the stencil and writes on it, but she focuses on the noise, so it goes like, whoosh, 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 and her videos get like 10,000 views every time.
That's wacky.
It's like super random.
Well, what I mean is that not that everybody can't do it, is that not everybody can make a living at it, right? So, I mean, if she's an intern, she's obviously not living on the calendar noises. Like, it's one thing to have.
If you're going to live off social media, you need at least 200,000-300,000 subscribers to get that amount of views, because I think it's every 100,000 views or every million views is only like $1,000 per video.
It's $1 million.
It's $1 million?
Yeah, it's about $1,500 or $2,000 per million views on average.
Yeah, so it's a lot. But what I've realized, and this is kind of this was like my full intention with my podcast originally, was that I didn't want to make money off of it. I was sponsored by Manscaped and they paid me a little bit. I just wanted to know what the experience was like.
Yeah.
But what most successful online brands or personalities do is they take their leverage of their YouTube channel or their podcast and they spin a business off of it, whether it's a coaching business or they start doing drop shipping or...
Did you have to shave your chest for that gig or what?
Right. Luckily, I'm not that hairy of a person, so I'm like the anti-Jew. I was in a Jewish fraternity in college, and every single person in there was hairy as fuck, besides me.
Hairy Shlomo.
Yeah, super funny. So I just think I'm glad that you guys have podcasts because I believe that audio influencers are on the rise, and they're gonna. If you look at all the most powerful people on the planet. In terms of internet personalities, they're all podcasters. Joe Rogan, Lex Fridman, Whitney Cummings, Howard Stern, all these people. Like no one ever references YouTubers. Maybe Mr. Beast. He's got about 50 million YouTube subs now. He'll probably be the youngest billionaire for sure.
What about like Jake Paul and Logan Paul? Are they pretty famous?
They're pretty famous, yeah.
With the young people only? Is that the caveat?
Yeah, I think it's generally they're becoming more and they're even getting out of the YouTube space to do boxing and spinning out of that. Whereas people like Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, they're just continually doing the same thing, just their talk show. And Joe Rogan commands 10, 20 million different downloads, like unique downloads per episode. He's even taking shots at CNN recently. If you've been watching that with CNN. Saying that he was lying about COVID or something like that. Yeah. And he went on his show and called CNN out, and now his ratings are super down. So you could see that these independent personalities are much larger than the traditional media exists. And I think it's only going to continually trend. And I think audio consumption is going to only increase over the next decade as AirPods scale and they become less in price. Most people will be walking around with some sort of AirPod and consuming more audio, and so it's just like it's easier and it's more convenient on your commute. So this is why I continue to do my podcast as well, and it's just a great leverage tool to meet people. Something that I realized 4 years ago. First time I thought of my podcast was in 2018, but I didn't end up doing it until 2020. Was that whenever I was trying to reach out with like high net worth individuals or those who have some sort of social status, they don't typically respond. And it's not because they're assholes, it's because they don't have time.
Yeah, so 1,000 people trying to get it.
Responding to them isn't just worth their time. Like, sorry for the fact that for all these people who are listening and try to reach out to your local influencers. Yeah. But if I said that I had a podcast, they would say, yeah, how much time do you need? And so instead of not responding to 5 minutes, they were giving me 2 or 3 hours of their time. And so it just seemed like a cheat code. And it was the next evolution, especially because you don't even have to have them in the room. I mean, it's more preferable to, because then you can understand their body language and the social cues. And then you could pitch business ideas or whatever you want after the interview, after their guards are down, they feel loose and comfortable. Yeah. But it's just something that's only going to continually grow. So podcasting is a very powerful tool.
Do you have some... Oh, sorry, go for it.
Have you heard of Sager from Breaking Points? He has a very similar... He thinks on a political scale, media and podcasting will have a huge impact on the future. He thinks that's going to be like every city will have kind of like a Joe Rogan, Lex Fridman. So if you ever catch him, it's Sager... Dang, what's his last name? From Breaking Points.
I listen to him. Yeah, he's on Joe Rogan's podcast a little bit. And he has the female co-host too.
Crystal Ball.
So when I first started my podcast, I actually got the Joe Rogan Vegas kind of comparison dozens of times. That's what I was doing 2-hour episodes until I realized I couldn't just edit it on my own for that long. I was like, this is fucking painful.
I know the pain.
It sucks. But I do agree, especially with politics. I think as populism overtakes kind of the traditional or conventional lifetime politician, you're going to see much more entrepreneurs as politicians in the future, and the majority of them will probably be some sort of internet star or internet entrepreneur of some sensation. So, you're definitely right. I had a gentleman on who lives here in Vegas. His name's Travis Chappell. He has a top 25 podcast like in the world.
Nice.
It's a business podcast. It's called Build Your Network. I almost ruined that.
Sorry, Travis.
Yeah. If you have the opportunity to reach out to him, he only does like remote ones though, because he's really busy.
Yeah.
He told me that the power of podcasting is that you share credibility with the person across from you.
True.
Yeah, and so the reason why Joe Rogan's so credible is because he shared credibility with pretty much every credible person that exists on the planet. So
a lot of famous people.
A lot of famous people, successful people, even people like Alex Jones, who's successful but is considered not favorable to cancel culture. And you're getting different opinions. Kind of just like how human psychology is that those who are working 9-to-5 jobs or working 40 to 60 hours a week, they don't have time to listen to the podcast. So what they do is they trust the host that they know the best. And if you're basically become the vetting tool for them. So whoever I have on my tool, some of my listeners have told me like, you know, I don't listen to all the episode, but I listen to the 1 or 2 minute clips that you post, and that's my content. And I consider those people credible because you have done your due diligence to bring them onto your show.
You're not going to bring a crackpot on.
Right. I mean, I like talking to crackpots every once in a while. I like hearing differing opinions. I've had Republicans and Democrats on. I actually had Michael Naft on.
All crackpots.
Yeah. I had Michael Naft on and Michael Thomas, who were running against each other in the most recent election.
Oh, nice.
I had them off. I had them on like 2 months apart, 3 months apart.
Yeah.
And found out that they had a lot of similarities. They had more similarities and differences. And that's something I've noticed on a local level or even politics in general.
Right.
Politicians, they just try to figure out what that like one differentiator is, and they kind of just hammer onto that point for hours and days and years until somebody finally gives in.
Yeah. All right, Joe, you're here to boost our credibility.
Hey.
Sounds good. Always.
In Portland.
Yeah.
Are you still doing when you invite your guests now, is it like a 2 hours that you aim for, or are you aiming only for 1 hour? What's your...
Just for 1 hour now. I actually had to scale the podcast back a little bit because I've taken much bigger role into the crypto economy in Vegas. So for October, November, December, I'm only doing 1 per week. And we cut it off at about an hour. I've noticed for a lot, once you kind of get higher up on the totem pole with people who are just like have a lot of time or don't have a lot of time, they prefer it to be around an hour, sometimes even a little shorter, just because they have to be in and out really fast. So you have to kind of like respect their time.
Oh yeah, totally. The way I do my invitations, I say 3 hours, but it's kind of a filter because I want somebody to come here and educate my audience, but I want them to be honest and not just pitch their business the whole time. I've had one real estate person that he said, I could only give you 40 minutes. I'll maybe compromise and go down to an hour and a half. And then he tried to compromise his 55 minutes. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
It's a hard negotiator.
Because you could, a person that's a salesperson, they could just pitch for 55 minutes. To me, that's like, I don't want that. So I mean, I understand they got a business to sell. But if you could educate my audience for like 2 hours or an hour and a half and then pitch your business for 30 minutes, I'm totally fine with that. But so to me, the 3 hour thing is kind of a filter. As soon as I email them and they come back, it's like, well, I could only do 15 minutes. And I'm like, no, don't do it.
Yeah. I think anything less than an hour just isn't enough time to understand the person across from you.
Oh, yeah.
Like as much as you're trying to get information for your audience, you still want to build a relationship. And there's something that funny that happens like when you have somebody on a podcast that you just met. After about 40 minutes, it feels like, thank you. After about 40 minutes, it feels like you've known them for like years or weeks. I don't know, it's strange. There's like something that happens on a, I don't know, spiritual level or on your wavelengths or I don't know, psychological level of that.
Well, I think you're having a direct conversation, and this is kind of rare in normal life, right? How often do you sit and just talk to somebody directly?
Yeah, it was before social media.
Yeah.
What happened is once the smartphone was created, it kind of just inserted itself in between you and the person across from you. Right? How often are you talking with somebody and you or the other person just subconsciously pulls your phone out to check the time? Yeah. And then you put it back and realize you didn't even look at the time, and so then you do it again, and you just like constantly doing.
Checking
this,
to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I feel so called out right now.
Did you just look at your phone?
I just did a second ago. Yeah, I have a computer in front of me. I can see the time.
Right.
Like at a party, like you're not going to go into the concept. Like if you just met someone, you're not going to be like, oh, so what are some deep lessons you learned through your career? Like that. That's not socially acceptable.
Or you got to break past the...
Yeah, so even at a party, like you talk to them for 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and then you go talk to somebody else.
I don't know. I have noticed with the younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, that the small talk is largely skipped over. I don't know if it's because they just cut the bullshit out, or just online. People are a little bit more direct.
Yeah.
And there's less emotions kind of attached to it. It's hard to read emotion through the internet and through text. That's why a lot of it becomes misconstrued. But even talking with like women at the bar or at a party you just met, I find our conversations going much deeper than I would like and much faster, which usually can lead to a good outcome or a largely bad outcome.
Jake's got things he doesn't want you to know.
Yeah, right. I remember me and my friend, we were at 18 Bin. I live downtown.
It's a good spot.
I live in our district.
Yeah.
We were at 18 Bin and we had just met these girls. I went to go get a drink. Kid you not, 5 minutes later, I came back and they were talking about gender theory. And I was like, wow, this is a very deep conversation to get into immediately.
Right.
So I think it's just the younger generation's kind of just over the bullshit that's been happening.
Where you're like, well, I'm definitely a dude and I happen to be sponsored by Manscaping.
Yeah, right. I think was that during my sponsorship? That's been funny. That would have been
hilarious.
A good time. But I like deep conversations. Small talk isn't really that fun. No one likes talking about the weather or the traffic or
it just
whatever.
seems so fake and disingenuous usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I use the small talk. It's the icebreakers, really. I mean, just to ask the weather. It's to if the way they respond, they're like, "Oh, I didn't like it because of so and so," and then I'd be like, "Oh, so are you sad about the weather? What's going on in your life that you're sad about?" It's an icebreaker to get to the next conversation.
If somebody brings up the weather as the first conversation or topic of conversation, I'd be immediately disinterested. Like this, I'm already trying to get out of this conversation.
Well, it's Vegas too, so it's either hot or it ain't.
Yeah. Everyone's like, it's so hot. I'm like, welcome to Vegas. How long have you lived here? I was born here. All right, shut up. Like, it's not changing anytime soon. Or they want to complain about the traffic. Like, oh, Californians are moving here. Like, don't you want Vegas to be bigger? Like, it has to grow at some point. I know traffic sucks. That's why I would never live in LA. But just those things that aren't changing anytime soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me largely disinterested in that person immediately.
I do miss the smaller Vegas.
Yeah.
I remember 10 years ago, it was less traffic and less development and less. It was probably a depressing time in that was kind of like the economic downturn.
Yeah. I mean, being born and raised in Vegas, I'm 29. I started working on the Strip when I was 18. I've been hearing Vegas is going to be the next LA for literally 11 years at this point. It is becoming it. It's its own variation. LA has Hollywood, which glamorizes movies or like the movie industry and the music industry, where Vegas glamorizes party culture. That's why when I was working at Omnia, dude, some of these girls have 50,000, 100,000 followers. They're their own internet celebrities.
Yeah.
They're treated and put it on a pedestal by management. Even the clients that come in just kind of like bow at the hips for them and get on their knees immediately. So Vegas has its own celebrity lifestyle. That's why the industry is called literally the industry. A lot of these people, and that was one of the reasons I had to get out of it, is that they just live in this bubble and that they don't like they have large personalities within this Strip ecosystem. But once you leave it, no one knows who you are outside of just a hot girl with fake boobs or a host or like a guy who just knows a bunch of people.
Yeah. We also have a Hollywood Boulevard though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's not awesome. It's not as entertaining as the LA Hollywood.
Fair enough.
So right now your deep passions are NFTs right now.
Just crypto. I have a company called Native. It's me and my business partner. We do meetups out here. We just had the last one on Tuesday. It's once a month at Blackfire Innovation, which is it's a 4-story building built on 140 acres owned by UNLV. It's off of Durango and Buffalo on Sunset. That area is they're trying to make that area.
By IKEA?
Yeah, cross street. They're trying to make it the tech hub area for Vegas. Vegas has been trying to diversify its economy for literally decades.
Yep.
I think the COVID pandemic's finally accelerating that trend. So they're actually onboarding a lot of tech companies to move out here with, tax exemptions and whatever it is. But they're also having these facilities where they're building campus housing. They just had Exco, which is a startup incubator that moved from another state, being built out here to have an accelerator program. They have Tech Alley, which is every third Thursday. My friend Open NFT does his NFT meetups, which is first Thursday. Last Tuesday of the month, we do ours at Blackfire Innovation. And we're just trying to build out the crypto community out here because we believe that in order to bridge off of tourism dependency and be an independent city, crypto is probably the easiest path to introducing that, with having $2 to $3 trillion in capital in this pool with less than 100 million people even participating in this. There's a massive crossroad between the international capital, or the international playground of the world, which is Vegas, and the digital playground of the world, which is crypto. There's a huge intersection. There's obviously regulatory hurdles that you have to overcome. And we've had these conversations. I've met with politicians, regulators, casino operators, entrepreneurs. It goes on and on and on. And the Gaming Commission is controlled by 8 people who've largely been there for a long time. And they know little to zero about crypto. And so for that reason, they've automatically put red tape up around pretty much everything that has to do with payments. And so we've been trying to get to them to educate them, whether they want to or not. They're missing out on a large amount of opportunity.
Is the goal to be like the Silicon Valley of cryptocurrency? And
we're trying to make Vegas become an NFT hub. And the reason behind that is that in the States, each state that has kind of allowed or been interested in crypto adoption has kind of taken a specific sector. And what I mean by this is Texas is largely a Bitcoin mining state, low power. China shut down all of the Bitcoin mining operators, which was like 50% of the hash power at one point.
Right.
Most of them moved to Texas, cheap power. Miami is leading in Bitcoin adoption. Mayor Suarez is their mayor. He put Bitcoin white paper on their website. He's talking about buying municipal funds. They have Miami Coin. A lot of different businesses and merchants have begun accepting as payment. Wyoming has been doing a really good job at crypto legislation. They just drafted a bill and it's been approved that DAOs can now be registered as LLCs. And DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. So it's basically a bunch of people pull a bunch of capital, and then there's a coin that's around it, and then those coins represent voting power on where you want to direct that money and capital to.
Like a super PAC of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, it's like a decentralized VC in a sense.
Okay.
There's obviously more utility that you could do with that, but that's kind of like the main use case now. Vegas has a large entertainer base. It has a large experiential base. Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, but it's becoming the experience capital of the world with all of these new adoptions that are happening largely downtown and in the arts district. Has a large artist base, a lot of physical artists, graphic artists, designers, but also musicians as well. And so these all play into what NFTs are. And NFTs have many different utilities outside of just digital art and collectibles. It can represent intellectual property, which is something like that Gary Vee does. You could put real estate contracts as an NFT. Pretty much anything in the world could be done as an NFT. Like, for example, to show you how simple it is, I could take that camera, make it a digital NFT of it, and then have the digital NFT represent the physical piece. I could sell the digital NFT on a marketplace, and then whenever I want, I can burn that NFT, and then the physical piece gets sent to me. So that's just what non-fungibility is. Humans are non-fungible.
Right.
Pretty much anything that's not mass produced or isn't currency is non-fungible. So a lot of people think the non-fungible market could actually be much, much larger than the payments market.
Wait, what if you're a triplet though?
Right? Technically, you have a slight DNA variation, so you could.
Or a different name.
And so also with NFTs, there's no regulatory red tape because they're not payments. They could be They could be membership tokens, access tokens to somebody. Like Gary Vee's friends, he has roughly 10,000 NFTs. Each one represents a ticket to his VCon conference, and you can only have the NFT to get into it. And then some of the other ones have extra utility on top of it, where it's like, get Gary Vee on your podcast, get lunch with Gary Vee in New York, go to the front row Knicks game with his tickets, like get Gary Vee to market you. Like there's all these ones that have different utility. And so a lot of these different creators are beginning to experiment with that. So at Native, we're actually creating a NFT incubator, or you could call it NFTs as a service, where we have the dev team, we're the marketers, we have everyone that we need to help these people who have NFT ideas to formalize the idea, present it to the dev team, get the dev team to build it, market, build it, whatever, so on and so forth. And so it just like, it seems like it has a natural fit in Vegas, especially with Vegas being like one of the convention center hubs. It's number 2 behind Orlando.
What? More conventions in Orlando?
Yeah.
I always thought Vegas was number 1.
It's number 2. I think it's just because Orlando has, or Disneyland's like right around the corner too, and they have a lot of hotels.
Right.
Yeah.
But Vegas will overtake it, especially now with the new convention center open up. I think just the pandemic's kind of hindered that progress. But
Also, Disney World's getting too expensive for people too.
Yeah, Disney World sucks.
They can't afford to take their family to $200 tickets to get in the park.
I mean, Vegas is almost exactly the same price at this point.
No, it doesn't look like it.
I went to Omnia the other day, a week ago. It was my first time visiting back as a guest and not an employee. And when we were outside, I heard them say $250 to get in. I was like, oh my God.
The money was flowing the other way when you're not an employee.
Yeah, right. Well, luckily, as being a local, you get pretty much everything for free as long as you have like the right connections.
Yeah, you knew some people.
Yeah, pretty much everyone there. So it pays to be a local. You never have to pay to go out to nightclubs or anything like that. Meanwhile, everyone else is spending their entire life savings.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm going to throw some random idea at you. I have this idea for NFTs. I'm not asking you to build it at all or anything. I just want to ask your opinion. So what if you did NFTs that have like a RFID chip? So say a painting. You build a canvas that has a RFID that's super sensitive, that as soon as you try to rip it off, it'll break the RFID. Mm-hmm. So then say someone paints Picasso, and then the NFT has, you know, the key on to someone's wallet, and that's the owner. Mm-hmm. So that if someone tries to steal it or rip it, if it's ripped, then that's the end of it. It just destroys it. Now, if someone tries to steal it and then someone can find the theft and then report it to the cops could get a hand of it, then the painting goes back to the original owner. And or another way, if that person wants to be vindictive and just destroy the RFID, that'd be a funky situation if they destroy the RFID but not the painting, but still on the blockchain, the original owner still owns that NFT.
All right.
So the cops would just take it away from that person. I mean, in a world that's built on blockchain, a world that respects blockchain, the cops would say, hey, there's a painting that looks like a Picasso. The RFID chip doesn't register. You don't have this on your wallet. You're not registered as that NFT. So we're going to give it back to the other person.
Yeah,
I think that could go for everything. I mean, collectible shoes, Jordans. You could go with.
So have you ever heard of VeChain?
Yeah.
So VeChain is doing that. They're the leading blockchain company in supply chain tracking. They actually do it with mostly luxury goods right now, where they have the RFID chip in some of the shoes in the front part of the shoe, and then you can scan it, and it shows on the blockchain verified proof. So there are a bunch of people going in and doing that. NFTs also works like that, because essentially what NFTs are is it just allows you to assign digital ownership to pretty much any asset on the internet, whether that's blockchain or not. So you can pretty much tokenize anything. So an easy example that Mark Cuban uses a lot is with college professors and their textbooks. As we know, college textbooks and most textbooks are going to be digitized probably by the end of the decade. You probably won't see paper books at all. So what a college professor can do is they issue all of their textbooks as a PDF, put it as an NFT, put them all individual as an NFT, right? Let's say he issues 1,000 copies for his 1,000 students in a semester. Now they're on the PDF, they're on the blockchain. The students can read the book, and then whenever they're done with it, they could sell it to whoever is the next student. And then you get to tie in a royalty for the college professor, so that anytime it sells on the secondary market, it goes to the professor's wallet and not the college bookstores. So that's just like it's just a simple use case. That's why a lot of artists are hopping into this game. Are you guys familiar with Justin Blau, who lives out here in Vegas, world famous DJ?
I think I saw him at EDC.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, at the main stage. Yeah,
nice.
Saw him too. He's been in NFTs since 2017, 2018. In 2018, he did a NFT rave in like downtown LA, where the NFT or the tickets were NFTs.
Yeah.
He just started his own company called Royal, which is music NFTs. So they're basically minting .wave files into the blockchain, and then they're tying the royalties into the music so that the artist can distribute the music directly to their consumers rather than having to go through an agency, so that the artist can maintain all the profits, but they can also be experimental with it as well. So Blau earlier this year sold the first music NFT. I think it went for like $3 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And the only reason it went that high is because it's just historical. It's the first. Like first of pretty much anything in the real world.
Right.
Antiques, digital, not usually pretty expensive.
And he was famous enough to make it
happen. He's also been a pioneer in the space for a while.
Yeah.
But with that sale, whoever bought it gets to work with Blau on his next featured song and be like a contributing producer to it, and they get to work with him on the studio. So
nice.
It's things like Gary Vee. There's a lot of IP properties that you could tie to it. Tom Belayu just got into NFTs, which is the impact theory guy. If you listen to his podcast, created Quest Nutrition, super popular podcast. He just did something very similar to Gary Vee as well. So I don't think NFTs are going anywhere. It basically, they just allow you to gamify your existing community. So if you have a community of, Gary Vee has a community of, 500,000, 1 million people. Yeah. Now he can overlay a game to it, gamifies it. And then with these NFTs, everyone can make money, but there's also game theory behind it on how to make more money. So that's basically like, there's so many different components to it. Some people like to call it tokenized internet culture. Because now you could profit off of memes, right? For a long time, people were just stealing everyone's memes. But now if you're if you're a meme creator, you can mint it on the blockchain and prove that you were the original creator of it. And then you can finally gain profits from being that person. I like to call them gamified social arenas, where it's just like a bunch of people who have a common interest outside of capital. Like, for example, I'll use Bored Ape Yacht Club for an example. Did you see that? Are you familiar with that one?
That's the Reddit meme stocks, right?
No, Bored Ape Yacht Club's a popular meme, or it's a popular NFT collection that was created this year. They look like monkeys. They've been highly adopted by pop culture, by DJs, sports athletes, Steph Curry, Von Miller, Chainsmokers, some of these other people that are in it. So a lot of these people in these social circles are athletes or people who are considered pop culture with artists and stuff.
Right. Now
you could buy your way to getting access to that person, right? Steph Curry has 6 million followers or whatever it is.
Right.
He doesn't have time to engage with anybody, but now he's financially incentivized to engage with people that exist within the Bored Ape community because it raises the price of his value of his ape for onboarding people, and that people realize that they can talk with him in this Discord. So they're more incentivized to buy this Bored Ape for $100,000. I think it's like 120,000 floor now at this point. And so these are just like they're basically gamified social circles in a sense, where CryptoPunks are the most popular one. Their floor is like 100 ETH now, so it's like 400K. It's been highly adopted by OG crypto investors, traditional hedge fund owners, entrepreneurs. The most expensive CryptoPunk sold for $11 million, which I believe was bought by the founder of DraftKings. So a lot of these people who have wealth and status are buying into like these CryptoPunks. So then you see like the trickle down effect, like to all these other small ones.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the evolution of it, but it won't exist like this forever. Obviously, some of them are very overvalued, or maybe they're undervalued. Who really knows? We're in a mania right now. SHIB is up to a $60 billion market cap. So who knows? Fundamental investing is pretty much dead. It's all about meme investing now.
Yeah, it is weird to see such large valuations on digital things. I mean, that's new to me because, so I'm 44. When I finished high school in 95, email was brand new. That was the hot new shit. Like you had to get to the college computer and log on to an email, right? So for all of this time until now, digitizing things made them cheaper. But now to see insane valuations on digital things, that's a strange world.
Yeah, it's just because you're now thinking of decentralization and horde minds, where people on the internet have an easier time relating to people. And I know this for sure because 95% of the people that I communicate with on a daily or weekly basis are people that I've met since starting the podcast in April 2020.
Yeah.
And those are all people that I met on the internet. And I think it's because on the internet, you're not forced to be around any of these people. So therefore it's easier to find people that interest you. Whereas like when you're in college or high school, you're definitely forced to be around people, right? You don't, like, you hate half of your high school friends. That's why most people
don't choose your class.
That's why most people don't stay in touch with their high school friends. Even in college, yes, everyone chose their own major. So you're there for your own self-interest, but you're not interested in these people around you.
Right.
That's why I think fraternities, I was in a fraternity, are great, is because you join for their social fraternities. You join for the people that you meet or the culture that you're a part of. For me, it was the culture, being raised Jewish, having a bar mitzvah and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's easier to relate to these people because there's already a foundational layer to it. Whereas on the internet, everyone is connecting based off of self-interest, whether it's financial, anime, cultural, or anything like that.
Yeah, the thing that they're most amped about, they can find other people that are similarly.
And so it just becomes easier to buy into a meme. Everyone thinks this meme is hilarious. Let's buy it. And so now you get $4 billion in volume today in Sheep.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of that's probably the majority of that is leveraged from institutions who are just riding the train. Mm-hmm. But who knows at this point? Fundamental investing. I've never purchased stock in my entire life. I've only been in crypto.
Yeah, but I mean, that's insane too, to think of some Wall Street fund putting millions of dollars into a Shiba coin. Mm-hmm. For,
they're just riding the volatility. So a lot of people enter trades for different reasons.
But it's a reality you could have never predicted, even 5 years ago. Like, that sounds insane.
Yeah, even like I said, even when I was buying Dogecoin at $0.25 penny in 2019, I was like, there's no way this is ever going to get to 10 cents. My top was 2 cents and it hit 4. It was up 600% in a day. And I was like, there's no way this continues to go upwards. And it just continued to go. And I was like, God damn it.
I just want to interject with my bad luck really quick. I had like 60 or 70,000 Dogecoin for a long time. And then I was just getting rid of a bunch of crypto, and I wound up selling that 60,000 for about $80 about a year ago.
Oh, hurts. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
But those opportunities present themselves. Not even crypto definitely has the best returns by far, but they present themselves in equity positions as well. If you're an entrepreneur who creates a business, those equitable returns are much higher than crypto. Look at Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. They didn't get rich off of crypto. They got rich off of building their own company. So there's a famous quote that Mark Cuban says, and it goes something like along the lines of, billionaires concentrate, but millionaires diversify. So to get to a billionaire, you need to take very concentrated bets into one or maybe 2-3 things. And then you diversify to protect your wealth. Those who are diversified into 50 stocks, 20 cryptocurrencies, it's impossible to maintain because they're always going to fluctuate. So if you take a concentrated bet, yes, you're going to have to sit on your hands for probably much larger unless you understand market fundamentals or meme culture, whatever you're investing into. And then on the pump is when you start diversifying into other assets that you believe in. And so that's like something similar that I did, where I took a very concentrated bet into Bitcoin in 2017, very concentrated bet into Dogecoin in 2019, very concentrated bet into Ethereum, and then very concentrated bet into Mooncats and Repepes for the NFTs. And then whatever the next trend is with crypto, it's probably metaverses, and then social tokens right after that, which is another long conversation we can dive into at some point.
Is there any part of you that holds, or are you always on to the next big thing?
No, I hold, yeah.
Okay.
So
I want to really add to that thing where you're saying, what is it? Billionaires concentrate, and then millionaires diversify. I'm not a billionaire, but during 2016, there was conversations between Emmett and I where we were looking at Ethereum, Bitcoin. Back then, I mean, we were looking at so many other ones, but there's points where
there wasn't even that many back then. Yeah, there was probably only like 100 coins
in 2016. Very low.
And there was times where you never pushed me enough to say it, but there was times where, say I wanted to throw in $1,000 or $2,000, and then because I would bounce off Emmett bounce off of me, And then if we kind of if we disagree, then we second thought that theory. So there's times where I said, let's do 2000 this, and Emmett would kind of be like, but there's times he was with it. But there's times where that train of thought was, if we don't take the risk, we never become that billionaire. We might get lucky and become the millionaire, but that was kind of, you never push back enough. I was on the verge on some. Anyways, just an interesting thought.
Wait, what did you want to do that?
I think remember that one time there was one lunch where I was like, I think Ethereum is it at 2016, and I had this rainy day money, I call it, meaning I have like around $3,000 that was just, I always kept in the bank in case something happened, car broke down, I needed food or something, and I told them that like I could build up this $3,000 in like a few months, but I want to do it. I want to take it out now and put it all in Ethereum, and Emmett's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. So I didn't, but I do kick myself because that would have been double my holdings today.
Yeah.
Well, but also the difference is in 2016, it was a different picture.
I agree.
It was not clear that cryptocurrency and blockchain were something viable.
You had to have conviction. Also, back then it was a reputation risk to talk about it openly. So I've been openly talking about it since 2017.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've built that reputation now from it. But a lot of people hide behind their pseudonymity because they thought, their friends thought, they're the crazy crypto guy that's believing in this magic internet money that's never going to make it.
Yeah, no, we weren't worried about talking about it. It was mainly just that it was such a new thing that there was no guarantee. There was no projection that it would do what it has done.
Yeah, and that's where your wealth is made, though, is when there's a lack of information.
Yeah.
It's asymmetrical, where you have to formulate an hypothesis off of your own opinions and make that bet. Because when I got into it, there was very, very limited conversation. Only a handful of podcasts that even existed. Now there's a bunch. You got to sift through who you think are the scammers, who has morals, who is just trying to play into the algorithm to get more views. Like,
wait, you're on the moral team?
I try to be.
Would you take Mark Cuban as president?
Yeah, I listened to him on Andrew Yang's podcast last year. He was actually going to run as an independent, and he did a bunch of private polling.
Yeah,
and they said that he would have received 22% of the vote, mostly pulling away from Joe Biden, though. And so he decided not to do it. But in order to run as an independent, they said you would need at least 30% to even be considered a winner.
Right.
So that's why, going back to what we were talking about, I don't know, like an hour ago, about I think the future of politicians is entrepreneurial driven, and our generations, the younger generations, are tired of these like career politicians like Joe Biden and Trump and people who are getting into their 80s and Nancy Pelosi.
People have been tired of it since before my time.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're beginning to see signs of it already. You see people like Chamath Palihapitiya, who's running for governor. Yeah. And some of these other entrepreneurial based people running from the smaller positions, mostly mayoral and governors. But it'll eventually formulate its way up to the presidency. I think The Rock's supposed to run for president. That's why they did
he's definitely going to.
Yeah, that's why they made that Hulu show.
I would take him over any politician, really.
I would too.
Why not?
The man of conviction, hard work.
Yeah. That's if you grew
up from nothing.
If you grew up with them in their house on the TV screen, if you think they're trustworthy, then
I can smell what he's cooking.
Why not? I think we need more entrepreneurs in the office. Like a bunch of these politicians are so detached. I had are you familiar with who George Chanos is? Lives out here in Vegas. He was the attorney general for Nevada under Kenny Gwynn from 2005 to 2007. He's the chairman of Capriati's. He has a company called Powerless. George is gonna kill me. I forgot. It was so long ago.
You got a lot going on in your head. So.
When he was working under Kenny Gwynn, he worked in Washington, D.C. for a year and a half or so. And he was telling me that there were so many special interest groups and lobbyists that were in the office that there's no way you could ever think about your home state, because you're always being presented with all these opportunities. Money's being thrown in your face, potential business deals after you get out of office, that you just become so detached from who you're representing that's basically the whole entire problem with Washington, D.C. right now, is that everyone doesn't even realize who they're representing, and it's just become mostly self-interest.
It's just money, yeah. Yeah, wherever the money's at.
Yeah, it's okay. Andrew Yang believes in raising the wage for senators to $2 million, and then federal congressmen to, I think it was $1 million. And the reason behind this is that then it will prevent them from taking backroom deals because they're making enough money. So therefore they can represent the people that voted them into the position they're sitting in.
Yeah.
Will it work? I don't know. Human greed is very powerful. I think crypto is probably the biggest magnifying glass of human greed that you can see. That's leverage on leverage. Like that's literally what meme coins are. It's just greed, exponentialized to a degree. So
That's
I
what
don't
drives
think,
the meme coins.
yeah, I had friends today texting me saying that they're buying sheep hoping for it to go to 5 cents. I'm like, you realize it's up 6 million% this year alone.
Well, and at 5 cents too. I mean, their market cap would be greater than GDP of most countries. I mean, you know, with how many are in circulation, it's like 100 trillion or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, even at 5 cents, that's absurd. You know, I mean, like you got to look at it like that too. It'd be worth like half of the United States of America. Like, come on.
It's the unit bias is what drives a lot of the retail market, where they see, oh, there's 7 trillion coins, so it's less than a penny. Even it's.
I would redefine greed though as taking more than you need. So if a little guy is working his job and he wants to put some money into a meme coin, I don't see that as greedy until you're taking advantage of somebody else or taking from somebody else, or everybody wants to make money, right? Everybody wants to.
So you're saying it's not greed until there's unrealized profits?
It's not greed until it's more than you need, right? If you're a billionaire and you're still trying to make more money, like, look, what do you need more billions for, right?
Well, would you classify greed as the same category as taking advantage of somebody? So let's say you're a boss, right? And your employees have been working. You have your employees on salary, so they're not making hourly wage.
Yeah.
You have your managers now working 60 hours a week. They're tired. They want to go home. And now you're first forcing them to work more on the self-interest that you're going to make more money for the company, on the idea that they're just going to continually do it. So you're being greedy because you're making more money, and you're being greedy with their time, and you're taking advantage of them.
I wonder if I could reword. I was trying to, I think what you're trying to say maybe is, so someone buying Shiba coin, whether they buy $100 or $500, and if they can make 1,000 or 2,000, they're not the greedy politician that's making millions and billions or millions. And they're not really making that Shiba owner, that Shiba $100 worth of Shiba owner, they're not on the backs of others making that money. So I'm guessing that's what you meant.
So do you think in order to be greedy, you have to be aware that it's greed that's taking over your decision making?
I think to be greedy, it has to be taking too much at somebody else's expense.
Yeah, well, in the financial markets, it's dog eat dog game, right? It's for every win, there's going to be a loss down the road. It might not be now, but it's going to be in the future. So if something's 60 billion and up 6 million%, you're taking money now that's going to cost somebody else in the future, or it's going to cost you. I mean, it just depends on where in the cycle you are.
Yeah, I don't know. The Ethereum I bought doesn't cost anybody anything, right?
That's exponential growth. I guess it's network effect. I mean, unless you're under the honest opinion that you think Shiba is going to keep going. Personally, I don't think most people who are buying right now believe it's going to continually keep going. They're trying to.
Oh, so you're saying ethically?
They're trying to capture as much before the crash happens.
If you're pump and dump, I think that's.
And I believe that's most people who are participating in this. And same thing with GameStop and Dogecoin and all these.
100%. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get it on the pump.
Yeah.
I want to.
Oh, you greedy bastard!
Well,
let
me throw in the other side of that angle. I think you're going into a morality thing, and that I really like. Emmett knows I'm all about like
morality boner.
Yeah, I got a morality boner underneath this table right now. But say we got I don't know 100,000 people in America that bought Shiba coin, and they're just waiting for that pump and dump. But those 100,000 people, I'm thinking they're not making over $100,000 a year. All these That's what I guess what I'm getting at is the people that are trying to do these pump and dumps. They're Joe Schmo just trying to get by. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean that. they're just some schmo just trying.
I wish our listening audience could see Joe's face right now.
But I mean, as that example, so the greed thing, I'm thinking it's like if you got Wall Street coming in and somehow now
manipulating the market.
Well, that's what's happening with Sheeb. Is I think the majority of the volume is institutions using leverage to inflate it to capture the volatility, because that's mostly what volatility is just leverage that's in the ecosystem that's unrealized. It hasn't been capitalized on yet.
But would you say, are they so they're gonna prey on the common person, because the common person has those I don't know how many people are buying into Shiba, but there's gonna be a lot of common people, commoners, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But at this point in time, like I said, today, most of the institutions who've capitalized got in days ago. So now the people who are jumping in now late are the ones that are probably gonna like face the repercussions, or who knows, unless you're an honest person and you think it's gonna keep going to 120 billion, overtake Ethereum and Bitcoin. Some people may believe that, and maybe it could happen.
But then you're just a fool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've been out traded by meme investors all year. So who's actually the fool here? Is the question.
Yeah,
it's just knowing when to sell is the big thing. And I think for me, like when I was buying Dogecoin, it's gonna hurt to say. So January 1st, I had 6 million Dogecoin. So if I would have held, I would have had $4 million or something like that.
Yeah.
But I sold it was a little over 4 cents at the time. I was up like 20x, and I was like, this is cool for me. This is enough for me to quit and live off of for a few years if worst case scenario happens.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going. And it's also because I went through that brutal bear market of 2018, 2019, 2020,
right,
where I didn't sell a single thing for 3 years. And so then the first opportunity where it came up, and it was like, all right, if you click, my thought was, if I could change my life in a click of a button, why would I not do this? And that was like the internal confliction I was having of like, you could quit your job that you've hated for 5 years and you can do this, or you could try to ride the train and maybe it goes back down to zero like it has the last 5 times.
That's why I'm not upset about my loss on the Doge. It's like, I know I would have sold when it hit like even like 2 or 3 cents, because I had gotten it whenever it was fractions of a penny, fractions. So there's no way I would have held till it got up to like 70 cents or whatever.
That's like
never would have happened.
Have you seen, there's a bunch of tweets on crypto Twitter today where it's like, if you would have put $1,000 in Sheeb when it was created 11 months ago, you'd have $9 billion or something like that. There's one wallet actually that put $8,000 in Sheeb 11 months ago, and it's worth 5.7 billion.
Yeah.
Obviously there's not enough liquidity to pull even close to that amount out. Last time I checked the liquidity pool for Sheeb, there was like $10 million, which means if one person sold $10 million, it would effectively go to zero.
Pull all the actual money out of it.
Right. Because of the liquidity pool. But it is like Joe was saying with human psychology, even those people who bought Bitcoin super early, the majority, 99.9% of them have sold at some point to live off of. So that's just how human psychology works. You can't just hate on, or you can't just forever hate yourself because of the lost gains, even though that hurts the most. Like selling early definitely hurts more than buying late and getting rugged on something, because you're like, fuck, I could have had $5 million, but it's just like human psychology. That's like what trading is. That's investing. That's entrepreneurship.
That's as senseless as saying, if I could go back being 18 years old, I could be, I could do.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I come from a background of gambling and playing poker, so like my mind just works completely different. Like I don't even see it as like a loss. I'm just like, oh, cool,
So why don't you
made it? I didn't. Oh well,
So is that the exact reason why you don't live out here in Vegas?
No, I wish I could live in Vegas. I wish one day.
He likes IPAs too much.
Yeah.
I'm
concerned about Lake Mead running out of water, so we'll see about that. Dude.
Well, water's a commodity now, so as long as you have money, you'll be fine in the future.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. The water wars will benefit those with money.
Yeah. I'm not too fearful of Lake Mead running out of water. I mean, it might, but there's a lot of technology in the works with capturing air vapors that'll turn into water and some other technologies that I think by the time we're on our deathbed, it might be a bigger concern. But I think for our
there's just more expensive ways to get water.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it comes down to is the economics of it.
Yeah,
you could run ways to get water. It's just what are you willing to pay for it?
Yeah,
you could run a pipe down from Canada. Yeah. Right? I mean, we already have that.
That would be a pipe of maple syrup, sir.
Deal.
Jumping to your, so you said you wanted to build the NFT hub in Vegas. Do you think the regulation is the toughest part, or what are you guys working on? That's kind of
it's not money. You don't have to regulate it.
Yeah, it's NFTs are harder to regulate because there's a multitude of ways to use it. Like right now, the big regulations in Vegas is the Gaming Commission. Their two main concerns are laundered money making their way into the ecosystem, and preventing gambling addiction and preventing abnormal losses of wealth, which then ultimately leads to suicide. Which, working on the strip for 10 years, dozens of times leaving and the road's blocked off because somebody jumped off the parking garage.
Oh, that really happens?
It happens all the time. They just don't publicize in Vegas because it would lead to like a massive loss of business.
Yeah.
I've heard some crazy stories from people who work front desk and going in rooms and stuff like that too. It's never marketed.
So the newspapers and stuff are there's an unspoken rule. You don't publish that kind of shit because not good for the town, right? Do you want everybody to suffer a loss? Because hey, everybody thinks people are dying in Vegas now.
Yeah.
So and in reality, it's not a huge. Well, so look at it this way: there's 1 million visitors a week to Vegas, give or take, right? So out of a population of 1 million people, aren't some percentage of them going to commit suicide anyway? So it's a weird thing. Do you attribute it to they were gambling, or they were being in Vegas, or were they gonna kill themselves somehow, some way?
Yeah, most of it's suicide in a room or jumping off the parking garage, are like the main two.
Parking garage. That makes a lot of sense. I was trying to figure out how you could kill yourself jumping out of a hotel window because none of them open.
Yeah.
You're not getting on the roof easily, at least.
Yeah.
But the parking garages, those are unguarded. You can just right out.
Yep. Yeah. It happens fairly often, unfortunately. So the Gaming Commission does have the right concerns. The only issue with that is that those two concerns that they have are easily preventable if they just understood the technology, and you could create a self-hosted wallet. You could put up mechanisms to prevent people from pulling out more money. You can have them KYC their wallet to spend. Like, there's so many ways to make to literally onboard billions of dollars into the Vegas ecosystem.
Yeah,
it's so easy to do. I think it comes down to stubbornness and the unwillingness to learn because of maybe whatever the reason is. I think a lot of people are stubborn or have a big ego and hate that they missed out on the potential life-changing gains because they didn't want to learn about it or they didn't know how. And so we've been trying to find that hurdle to get there. But with NFTs, you can do things like experience-based gaming, like an idea we've been talking about for a long time, and I think some other people are as well, is the younger generations aren't playing slot machines, video games, not playing craps. We like experiences. We like skill-based gaming. So you could even do something with like a Bitcoin slot machine. Is just the easiest play right there. So you have a casino come in and spend right now $60,000 for Bitcoin. In the future, it's going to be worth hundreds of thousands. So now you're only spending $50,000 to pay out $200,000. You could do something experience-based, like with the slot machine, you get a night with the Chainsmokers and VIP table service at the nightclub, or you get to hang out with like the whales or whatever the casinos want to curate, which is like a one-of-one experience.
Yeah.
That's so easy to put into and to gamify within the new casino gaming that's going to happen. We call it alternative gaming.
Yeah, I think what you're butting up against is that people older than me tend to have a conservative bend. Conservative being, hey, things are working, let's keep it the way we know how it works because we've seen it work this way for so long.
Well, and that's why they're all losing money.
Yeah, and then a lot of times the people at the top are in a position of power or on a gaming commission or whatever. They're like, this is the reason I'm here is because of the way it is. If you go changing the way everything is, then that actually puts me out of my position.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with crypto, or at least the issues from the traditional business's standpoint, is that it undermines power. That's why a lot of communist regimes have outlawed cryptocurrency. That's why Donald Trump's come out against it, because he literally says it undermines the dollar's power, devalues it. So they are aware of it. So something that I've talked about for a long time is like Vegas has traditionally operated in a 3D model. And what I mean by this is it's a very what you see, what you get kind of town. It's a very what can you do for me, right? You perform customer service. The guest gives you a tip. He's instantly gratified. You're instantly gratified, right?
Yeah.
But what's happening in the world is that the world is becoming increasingly 4D. There's a technological overlay. There's internet communities, there's apps, there's all of this leverage that exists not in the real world, but intangibly.
I want 100,000 people to see me tipping you.
Yeah, right. You could do that. You could do that with NFTs, because with NFTs you can make let's say you go to a nightclub. Let's say you go to Omni and see Calvin Harris, or he's not there. We'll say, who is even there? Steve Aoki, right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets a ticket, and now that ticket goes into your wallet.
Yeah.
So now you can see everybody who's been at that concert with you. So you have something that you share with people. Obviously, the Gaming Commission has no regulation over this because it's a ticket, and that comes down to the private company who's throwing it. So, and then with you can literally just airdrop coupons and future expenses or anything into that person's wallet, since you already have it tracked and ID'd, and then people can sell it on the collectible market. Yeah. So that's just like one easy utility for it. But with NFTs, like I said, it gamifies existing communities. So this is why we're working with right now, mostly artists, internet influencers, YouTubers that want to do something with their community, which makes it easier. So for example, one person, I'm not going to name it or whatever, they have a pretty large brand. Yeah. They have a bunch of workshops and academies and stuff on their website, right? That people pay thousands of dollars for. What if we just create NFTs that if they have this NFT and they go on your website, it automatically opens access to all of these classes, right?
Right.
And then whenever they're done with it, with the NFT, they can just sell it on the secondary market to whoever wants to. And then the creator gets a royalty on top of it. So you're making it sales every time. And everyone's satisfied, because then the person gets all the content that they want. They sell it. Somebody else gets it. It gets maximum efficiency off of it. You make money off the secondary sales. So those are like what's called access tokens. Yeah. You could do combinations like this in the casinos as well. So right now we're just building rapport through native. We're building rapport with the university we already have, the city council. We have fairly local entrepreneurs. Because eventually, once these casinos realize that they're going to need an NFT strategy whenever it comes, they're going to turn to somebody local, and they're going to be like, wow, you've already done 5 to 10, 20, whatever it is at the time projects. Yeah. And now they're going to have to pay 7-8 figures for contracts to get this done. So that's why we're starting small. There's a lot.
Don't be greedy though.
Yeah, right. Well, with the institutions, you charge the most. Sure. Okay, those are large projects. You don't get greedy. There's a common term in crypto where they say your friends aren't your exit liquidity. But the institutions are. Yeah. So because they're the ones that have had the predatory practices for decades. Yeah. So now you get to turn the tables and flip the script on them.
Wait, just because I don't get a choice in paying my taxes doesn't mean that the government's predatory.
No, not just government. I'm talking about like hedge funds, and casinos, and sports books. All these people,
Yeah, I'm being silly. Yeah. Hey, rewinding back to some of the things you're talking about. Have you seen the company that does like a retinal scanner to verify your identity, to tie your identity to?
Is this the new one that just came out?
I just saw one article. Yeah.
Is this the WorldCoin thing?
Yeah. Does that make sense as an identity?
Yeah.
Because if you want NFTs and experiences and values to be personalized, does it make sense to tie to somebody's identity somehow?
Yeah. So Facebook's actually. Did you see the Facebook news? So Mark Zuckerberg. So the overall company, Facebook, the parent company is changing its name. Facebook will still be called Facebook, but the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, all the stuff is going to be something different.
Facecoin.
Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came out a few weeks ago and said that he's pivoting Facebook to become a metaverse company. That's their
I heard about that.
That's their new outlook. He said they're spending $10 billion this year for 10,000 developers to build this metaverse. Obviously, they own Oculus. So if they have this metaverse, and he's done some trials on Facebook already showing basically like what we're doing right now, but in a 3D world where we all have 3D headsets on and then we're talking on podcasts like this. Yeah. in this centralized version, if he has the Oculus, he's going to be able to have your retina scan, your biometrics, where your eyes are tracking, your conversation, the time that it comes out. So he's going to have all of this biometric data centralized and then selling it probably up to some nature to advertisers or however. Imagine if like they make a noise in the metaverse and you look and they know exactly where you're looking. And then they have to a degree how many people are looking and all these different metrics.
Yeah, everybody likes looking at this pink tree. So how do we monetize?
So how do we monetize it? Yeah. So right now there's a big competition between the decentralized worlds. Like there's ones like Decentraland, Somnium Space, CryptoVoxel stuff versus Mark Zuckerberg's whatever it's going to be announced here pretty soon and his metaverse. And that goes same into like WorldCoin. It's like, yeah, I like the idea of capturing all of these exotic analytics. I don't like centralized entities controlling it. If they shipped the data to you and they gave you the power to sell your data, which some crypto companies do or blockchains, then I would be more for it. But
I thought the idea of the retinal scan was to have an unmistakable identity tied to your activity.
How so?
Like, so if I go do a credit card transaction online or whatever, if I buy an NFT, how do you know it's me? How do you know it's not the guy in Nigeria, right? You know, well, if you do a retinal scan, then that's me. There's no way to duplicate that identity, right? Even if you do a 2-factor on top of that or something, right? But
yeah, it sounds good in theory. I'd have to read more on it to have a firm understanding of how exactly they plan to lay everything out.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's, you know, I'm not shilling this company or anything. Yeah, but I'm saying there seems to be a need for some way to have direct identity in a lot of things we're about to do in the future.
Yeah, because then it's like the Amazon, or was it the Amazon store that's in Seattle? Have you seen that? Where you don't have to have a bag, you just take what you want and you just walk out with it in your hand and it just automatically links to your ID, because I think there's like
try it to your phone
some
or something.
RFID chip or something like that on your phone or something like that.
But if somebody takes your phone, then they're going on a shopping spree.
Someone's going to take my eye.
That's right. That would be terrible.
No, it does, now thinking about it, it does sound like that's the next evolution of identity verification of some sort. It makes sense. It just sounds very dystopic.
Totally, yeah.
Which,
well, I mean, living in a metaverse, that seems like a logical extension now. If kids are spending all their time on their cell phone, if people are spending more hours in a video game than they do, you know, a coffee shop, then literally that's the world you care about, right? If you're going to spend money on a virtual skin for your character, you spend more money on that than your actual clothes. Yeah. That tells me you already care more about the virtual world than the world around you. So are our future generations going to live more in metaverses than?
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's already happening.
That's I was going to say, it's kind of already happening.
I forget who was talking about this, but they were just saying like even your cell phone is a digital extension of you already. Yeah, that's why there's a lot of hard rules, and especially Apple enforces a lot about FBI trying to crack people's phone. They say it's an extension of your brain. Like, look, our phone is literally 2 feet away from us. It's always on. Most people sleep next to their phone. God forbid anyone opens your phone and reads everything. You know, they know all your deepest, dark secrets. Don't go. You can go through text messages. Don't go through my notepad, because that's where all of the, like, my random thoughts are. You know,
the dark shit.
The dark shit. So that's kind of like we already are like almost partly bionic at this point, because our phones are always constantly in our hands. Yeah. So if you can remove the phone, but then still have the data attached to you at some point, whether it's through like that identifier through your eyeballs, or have you ever seen those? I think they're like prototypes of what are the things that you put in your eyes? Contacts, like the bionic contact lenses, where you put it in and it's almost like a scanner, and then it has like AR capabilities to it. Yeah. So a few companies are doing something like that. So it's interesting to see like what is actually going to be like the mainstream tool.
Well, to your point, like I would actually rather walk out the door without my keys and be locked out as long as I have my phone. I'd rather do that than walk out without my phone and have my keys, because I'm just going to go back in and get my phone. Like the phone is more important than my keys.
How often is it, or like those small few times where you don't have your phone on you and you're like, I need to call Uber. Fuck, I don't have my phone. Let me go pay for something. Fuck, I don't have
I
my
honestly
phone.
don't remember the last time I've been away from my house where I didn't have my phone.
Yeah.
I do not remember, literally.
You can't. Yeah, there's.
And especially after I got into a car accident, it's even more important for me because it's like I gotta be able to take pictures if someone hits me again, or
Just recently?
No, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I got T-boned at a red light, and ever since then, like I wouldn't even leave the house on a low charge just because I was thinking if I get into an accident, I need to be able to document it immediately.
It's terrifying. Me and a friend were in Denver over Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
And she set her phone down. We were at the bus station. We walked away for legit 2 minutes and the phone was gone. So we were like, fuck.
Lord.
We were like, okay, what's your provider? She's like, crap, I don't even remember what my provider is. All right, we're like, here, let's call your daughter. Oh, don't know her number. Oh, it's like, oh, let's do you find my iPhone? Crap, don't remember my password. You're like,
yeah.
So we had to walk around to try to figure out what the provider was. Remembered it was Verizon. Walked around for like an hour trying to find a Verizon store, and then went and did it. But just like all of those like small utilities, you forget how easy the access is to them.
It's integrated
until it's taken away. It's almost like when you stub your big toe and you realize like how much you rely on your big toe until you get turf toe and you like can't walk anywhere, you can't run. You're like, oh, the fuck.
The toe gets no love.
Yeah, all the small things, pinky toe, like or you have like a small arm injury. You're like, God, I don't realize how often I use my arms.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey, so I actually have a question about NFTs.
Yeah.
Something that I've been trying to wrap my head around because I'm still not really there yet.
So you're not going to spend $11 million on one?
Most expensive, $69 million so far.
Oh, really? Good Lord.
Yeah.
So how does it work with intellectual property rights or licensing? So like in your example earlier with the textbook from the professor, the NFT says that you have, is that a purchase
copy
of a receipt that lets you view the book but not edit it? Like how is that dealt with? You know, if I change, can I change the text of the book and resell it with that same NFT or no?
Rolling back in on the NFT question.
All right, so we're going to copyright for NFTs. Yeah, so it really copyright really it depends on the artist or the dev team or creator behind the NFT project. So for example, Mooncats that I own, they give full copyrights, personal and commercial use to any owner over that specific Mooncat. So there's 25,440. If you own 100 of them, then you could use 100 of them to put on merchandise, to gamify.
100 of a single cat, or
no, that individual cat that you own or that individual NFT you own commercial and personal use over. So you can monetize it in any way possible, whether that's just buying and selling it or gamifying it, using it in a video game, integrating it.
You could use it.
You could use it in
you can
any
integrate it into your own art or whatever.
Yeah,
or you could make a game of your fucking cat.
Yeah, any way possible. And this is this is common for most NFTs. Some of them have begun going other ways. There have been some DMCAs issued which kind of goes against the whole crypto nature.
What's a DMCA?
Digital Millennium Copyright Act violation.
Yeah, it's the copyright takedown.
Yep.
So the most popular NFT collection is CryptoPunks, right? They're just like 8-bit kind of figures.
Right.
There's it was created by a company called Larva Labs in 2017. Another company called Not Larva Labs created CryptoFunks, which instead of facing right, they just face left, and it's the same thing.
Sons of bitches.
And so they Larva Labs issued a DMCA against them. It got taken down on OpenSea, but now since the NFT is decentralized, now they've just popped up on other marketplaces outside of OpenSea, which is the most popular and has the most attention.
Right.
So they took a price hit, but now they've kind of gained more prestige as like the underdog. They've been taken down by the big dogs, right? Like this is a grassroots movement kind of idea.
Well, it's funny because it's such an obvious knockoff, though.
Yeah. Well, there's derivative projects are really popular. So CryptoPunks have the most derivative projects. They have fast food punks, vegan punks.
Well, and that shit should be covered regardless of whether or not it's an NFT. You know what I mean? You can make derivatives of things.
Yeah, because that's a joke. Yeah, because it's like considered comedy or parody of some sort. So, but everyone's still trying to figure out like what the right direction is. But for example, Bored Ape Yacht Club is created by a team called Yuba Labs, something with a Y. Sorry, I forgot that. I should know that.
It's important shit.
Yeah, they've allowed personal commercial use to the individual Bored Ape that the person knows, but for the overall Bored Ape Yacht Club brand, the dev team owns it, and so now they're taking that brand name. They're creating like a real world nightclub in Miami, and they're doing a bunch of like real world things to integrate it. But so you can use the picture of your ape on anything you want. But the name Bored Ape Yacht Club, you have to use in a specific way, or they will issue a DMCA against it.
So I assume that whenever somebody purchases the NFT initially, they agree to these licensing terms.
Yep.
Okay. But so then whenever they resell it, does the reseller have to be involved with the originator? Because otherwise they're not agreeing to anything.
No, most of it's written into the smart contract. So upon purchase, it's automatically signed into the contract itself or the blockchain.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clearing that up.
What if I buy an awesome Bored Ape and then I make a cool T-shirt of my Bored Ape, but then I sell the NFT of the Bored Ape? Do I have to get rid of the T-shirt now? Or
I guess it just depends on the person you sell it to. Like for me, I have Mooncats. I have images of Mooncats that I've sold.
Yeah.
For the other person, or if somebody was wearing a Mooncat of one that I own, it's just free advertisement. So I think it just raises the value, unless they're doing something sadistically where they're making a shitload of money off of it to then say like, hey, I own this, I should get like a large percentage of this. But if it's just for merchandise purposes or something like that, I personally wouldn't have an issue. I think that just comes down to the individual,
right?
And so I don't think there's a large case yet of somebody
so
monetizing off of a sold ape. There have been people who impersonate being the owner of that NFT. And that's why Twitter's coming out with NFT verifications. Have you seen this?
Yeah. So how do you verify ID?
Yeah.
So they're embedding the blockchain to where right now, so like CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, these are all called PFP project profile pictures. So people are taking NFTs, they're putting it as their avatar on Twitter, and this is basically a social signal to say like, hey, I own this, I belong to this social club.
Check it out. I can afford an NFT.
Yeah. And so, right, it's basically like a digital Rolex, right? If you have a CryptoPunk, some of these CryptoPunks are worth millions of dollars. You're like, hey, my profile picture is worth $1 million kind of idea. It's the same as like buying a sports car or any lavish house, whatever it is, yachts.
It's a wacky thing.
It's literally like digital art. Because like in my opinion, also art's the same way. Like it's I mean even without the NFT, it's people just buy it because they're just speculating and hoping it goes up, and then when they sell it for a certain price, it's automatically worth that much.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way to actually value it other than what people are paying.
Yeah. So Twitter is rolling out feature, which they've already been testing and they've shown pictures, that once you put it as your profile picture, there's going to be an option where it says verify on the blockchain. So it integrates with your Web 3.0 wallet. And then you get a little Ethereum or Bitcoin symbol next to it that shows that you're the owner. And
really cool.
I personally speculate that these verified profile pictures are going to, like the little symbol that you get is going to have more power than the blue check mark that Twitter gives you. Because those blue check marks are given by a central entity. These are proven by the community and have more value. So therefore, it's probably going to be more sought after. So a lot of the crypto or the NFT community believes that with Twitter verification having 200 million active users, it's just going to increase to a large amount of NFT exposure. And now you have like places like Coinbase who are opening up their NFT marketplace this year. They have 2.5 million signups. They have 50 million customers. And OpenSea only has 500,000 NFT traders.
Is that what the Coinbase thing at EDC was? I saw.
Yeah, I claimed one of those actually. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of people are trying to understand like where it goes. Reddit's creating an NFT marketplace. Robinhood's creating an NFT marketplace. Pretty much everyone's creating an NFT
Robinhood.
marketplace. Yeah. Right?
Sorry.
Did you see?
He couldn't sell his GameStop in time.
Robinhood's, when they came out with their quarterly earning reporting for reports for quarter 3, 40% of their profit was from Dogecoin. And Dogecoin transaction fees. They're literally just a Dogecoin stock exchange.
Hey, Wherever the money's at, right?
gotta go where the money is, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so if you're anti-Robinhood, what would you use instead?
Vanguard. Oh, for crypto? Coinbase.
Oh, either one, yeah.
Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken,
Okay.
Binance US.
Yeah, Coinbase is actually the number one downloaded app right now as of today because
It's not working right now. It doesn't work for me. I've been trying to verify my ID because I changed my phone number and it's been down all day.
people.
It's pissing me off.
You're late to the game, bro.
Well, I know, but I had other shit I wanted to check too. It's just that I was like, I should finally update my phone number. That was a big fucking mistake because I never had the app before. So I downloaded the app. And since it's the first time I've run the app and I'm not using my normal, Chrome on my computer, the app wanted to send me a verification text to a phone I haven't had in 2 years. I was like, fuck. And then I uploaded my ID and all day long it's been saying, we're sorry. It has to go through a manual review or some stupid shit. And it's like,
yeah,
I look like me though. Like I don't.
That's why you need a retinal scan to identify you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Holy shit, dude.
Holy shit, man. So have you guys pursued any entrepreneurial endeavors outside of this podcast? Have you ever opened up your own business? Any sort of artistic expression, anything like that?
You get started.
I want to hear some horror stories first before you hear the
We opened a
success
coffee
stories.
shop one time.
In Vegas?
No, down in San Diego. This is an old-fashioned business where you have to rent space and people come in and buy coffee. So, so our angle was we figured we'd do Vietnamese iced coffee, and at that time there were a ton of Vietnamese iced coffee shops in Orange County that were doing really well, and they had bikini waitresses. And we're like,
Lingerie
What?
waitresses.
why lingerie?
Well, to people that lingerie has a sexual connotation, while bikinis are kind of just the beach.
Laundry
Yeah.
has a sexual.
Lingerie.
Oh, lingerie. Oh my god. I was about to say, dude, I do laundry all the time. I've never got it.
I mean, maybe some dirty panties or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
If we had them doing laundry, we probably would have made it.
No, I mean, we were too afraid to go down that path. We were trying to keep it relatively legal.
No, I was saying if they did laundry, we'd probably.
Oh, if they. So the ones in Orange County, they show a lot of skin and they're wearing lingerie, but we went with bikini to keep it legal.
Yeah.
How long did that last for?
It was less than 6 months. We ran into, we did it on a shoestring budget for starters. And then we ran into some struggles with our landlord who was a real dick. So the landlord is the person you're paying most of your money to.
Yeah.
And then we had trouble with the health department where, not what you think, but like I'm going to buy the book rules, if you tell me what the rules are, I'm going to follow the rules and do that because I don't want to get in trouble, right? So as far as running a business, we did everything we could to follow health department rules, and it was just so impossibly difficult that they just wanted to become an obstructive agency to cause you to.
Can you give us an example of like what you mean?
So before you open, you have to get an inspection to give you that A, B, or C, right?
Right.
So they go, hey, well, here's the date you're going to open. Here's the date we'll come do our inspection. If you want, you can pay an extra $1,000 and we'll come in a week before and we'll do a pre-inspection and tell you all the things that are wrong, right? So I'm like, well, fuck it. Here's $1,000. You come do the pre-inspection and let me know what we need to fix. So they come in and then tell us like 3 things we need to fix. And then they come in the week later for the real inspection and give me 5 different things. Like, well, motherfucker, what did I pay you for the first time?
And the killer thing was
That literally sounds like a shakedown.
And well, one of the killer thing is one of those new items was an expensive like $5,000-$10,000 renovation to get that done. And they told on the first pre-inspection they said no, you guys are fine. But then the real inspection they said you guys got to do this.
Yeah.
So $5,000 or $10,000 that was out of our budget.
Wow.
So
I would have been climbing a clock tower for that kind of shit.
well, just a lot of like I think the goal of the health department should be to make sure you're not poisoning and killing people, right? You should make sure your food you're not. It just should be checking out what you're serving to make sure you're not hurting anybody. Great, right? I'm all on board for that. But they weren't focused on that at all. They were focused on all these archaic rules and making you jump through hoops and causing you trouble and pain. And it just seemed like just the opposite of what you want from an agency. They were just the stereotypical government pain in the ass that had no point at all in life but to make you miserable. So we ended up closing the shop because there's the health department and then there's the food establishment wastewater division that the food establishment wastewater division is worried about what you're flushing down the drain because they don't want grease to clog up the sewer system.
Yep.
So a long story, but they weren't allowing us to make food, so we were wholesaling sandwiches in and toasting them, and they ended up wanting us to install a grease trap for food that we weren't allowed to make. and like you want to spend 10 grand to dig up the concrete in the back and install a grease trap in the sewer system in the ground to trap grease that we're not allowed to make food on. Like it made no sense. So it's just insanity of that kind of, do that, every week. Just new insanity.
That's
all
the
time.
most bureaucratic thing I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, brick and mortar businesses are tough.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. I mean, I don't care how good your idea is or what you think you're doing. Your pasta's not that good. Your burritos aren't that great. You're never going to make it in the long run.
Especially food and beverage, where the profit margin is so low. It's literally between like 10 and 30%.
Yeah, and
like
so
profit.
We were hoping that the bikini girls would cause our growth, our customer growth to be higher than normal, but our customer growth was just a normal curve.
Yeah, you need alcohol in that coffee for that to work.
Yeah, but I mean, we were killing it in marketing. We were at the time ThrilList was big. We were on a ThrilList article. We were on like 3 or 4 radio stations. Then in the end, I had 50,000 dudes in San Diego that had heard about our coffee shop, and they're like, "Wow, that's so awesome! That's the best thing on earth. I'm totally gonna go check that out one day." Right?
Yeah, no, that's actually what I was just thinking a minute ago. I was like, that's something I read about and be like, hell yeah, brother, and just never go.
Yeah,
I would go to Black Rock anyway,
Yeah. So I'm glad we did it, right?
No, that's cool.
Most entrepreneurs' first business is a failure. Like that was my failure in a sense, depending on like you didn't get the financial compensation you wished for, you dreamed, right?
We didn't land on the moon.
Yeah, my first business was an antique store, and you're like, man, the first month I'm gonna sell a $3,000 item and a $5,000. I'm gonna be set.
This Elvis guitar is gonna make it.
Elvis guitar. Why are people not coming? And then you start realizing all the problems of a brick and mortar artist, and you're like, or business, and you're like, oh god, this is much tougher than anticipated. Yeah, but it is a good learning experience. And for most people who start one business and have a failure, it's usually not your last. Usually, you don't just pack it up.
But you mentioned Amazon and Netflix earlier. Those are 2 exact businesses that found ways to deliver the product without the brick and mortar, right? So they just cut out all the brick and mortar cost.
Yeah,
by going internet. So it's
that's it. Doing or being, I guess you could say, a digital entrepreneur, podcast, and crypto and stuff. You realize how much money you save and cost effectiveness there is without having just this large body of employees that you have to deal with. Because the hardest part I realized of working, I also had a second business, which was a verification app, which we'll get into in a second. I realized that the hard part of running a brick and mortar business isn't the business itself, it's managing people and the actions that come with them. Are they having a bad day? Do they hate the other person there? Are they showing up late? How are they treating the customer? Do they know their sales skills? Are they answering the phone correctly? Are they paying the bill on time, right? Like, do they understand the cash register? Like, there's so many things that go into that, which just is an ultimate headache.
Yeah. We got pretty lucky with our employees at the cafe. Their job wasn't that tough, but they did show up and do their jobs. And it was the most painful part was days where we were barely making any money, but these girls were making tips. They're like, man, this girl made more money than I did today. she's walking out of here with $200.
Yeah, you can never doubt the servers because the wait staff always ends up making the most money.
Oh yeah, 100%.
At least for the first few years until you're in the green, and then you can pull away 6 figures or 7 figures on whatever you're doing. But the leaders always eat last, and that's always how it is. And then you just hate the wait staff.
That makes
sense.
Doing
anything. Well, I've just invested my entire life savings. I'm living off of cup of noodles and ramen.
And they're taking a trip to Mexico.
Yeah, they're going to Mexico with the boyfriend that they just met in the coffee shop.
I think we were living on Jack in the Box those days. Yeah. That was our food supply.
Dude, Jack in the Box has the weird. I don't mean to go on a tangent, but I'm moving for a second. They have the weirdest, widest menu I've ever seen of a fast food joint. You can get like a bento bowl and like some wontons and some tacos and a burger and some curry, like they just have like the craziest menu. You're just like, what the fuck is this? No, don't get me wrong, I'll eat all of it, but
I used to only eat Jack in the Box for a long time.
I only get sourdough burgers now.
I've been at fast food in a long time.
Dude, Liem almost started Yelp.
Yeah. So back in 2003, 2002. I'll try to make the story as quick as I can.
I think we got a lot of time.
Our audience might have heard it before.
Yeah, I've told the story already. I was a software engineer. I was a junior software engineer. I thought of this idea, restaurants where you could add reviews, and it's not controlled by one single entity per se, because the reviews are from the users. And you probably know what today's app is, but I created one called suggestionfinder.com. Back then, it was actually awesome to print out flyers, go to a business, say, hey, sign up for my website. And all of them were like, this sounds like a scam. It's free. Why would I advertise on your site? Why is it free? And I actually got turned down. So it was an amazing thing to experience that. 2002, imagine when the internet's so early and going to a business talking about it. They had no idea.
I'm in the yellow pages. What do I need?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So
the internet's never gonna make it. It's a scam.
Yeah. So around 2004, I think Yelp got some massive, I want to say $14 million backing. To me back then, I was like, oh shit, I threw in the towel. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to keep up with Yelp. So,
yeah.
I actually. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. My bad.
No, go for
it. I listened to this NPR podcast called "How I Built This."
Oh yeah, with Guy Raz.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I've listened to almost 70% of all the episodes he has. And since I found it, that's all I listened to. But I actually just listened to the one with the guy that created Yelp just this week, and it was really interesting because he pivoted multiple times too. Like at first, it was just supposed to be a thing where you put out a feeler and it would send text messages to your friends or some shit, and then they would respond whether or not they've been there. And he slowly kept refining the idea until it became Yelp, And,
one of the defining traits of a good leader is knowing when to pivot and then having the certainty to do it, because most operators know that a pivot's going to come. You just have to know when it is and then go all into it, because I can guarantee you there's not $1 billion company that is stuck with the exact business model they proposed on day one.
Yeah.
Nope.
There's so many different hurdles that present themselves and obstacles. You just have to be aware that it's going to come at some point and know how to capitalize.
That's what Liem's terrified of, is that this will turn into something successful that's not what he wants to do.
No. So having the crypto money to be able to be honest on this podcast is a huge thing to me. Meaning, I get to tell stories. I've told stories where when I jumped from my job, one of my software engineering jobs, from $75,000 salary to $97,000. I talk about how I went to somebody in the company to find the salaries of other IT people, and I knew I was getting underpaid. Now, is that illegal? Is it not really? It's definitely a gray area. That'd
be fascist as fuck to be illegal. Sorry, go ahead. I'm just saying.
But it's frowned upon. I would have gotten fired for that, but. So I feel like I'm able to talk about those things, whether also smoking cannabis on the air, having the money to be able to have this podcast be what I want and what I envision it. I think it's.
You just reminded Joe. He's lighting up right now.
So what? Do you not have a job? Do you not work?
Not right now.
You just are you a crypto investor too?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh really? This is like the two most crypto-oriented people I've ever seen in my life.
He never mentioned one bag that he owns. When did you get into it?
2016 was when 2016 was the light bulb when the light bulb went off for me. 2008, I actually heard about the Bitcoin white paper as this junior software engineer still.
Jesus. He's like, I actually know Satoshi Nakamoto.
No.
Asshole.
No, I had a coworker. I've also told this story too, but I'll try to make it quick. So coworker came and said, "What do you think about this?" I didn't know about encryption, SHA-256, and that to me in 2016. Once I understood that, that's when I was all in for cryptocurrency. But 2008, I didn't know that. So he brought the white paper and said, "What do you think about this?" I'm like, "There's nobody that could program that right now. Nobody." I didn't know.
Did he show you an actual printed thing?
No. He
okay.
I want to.
You would have been buying off Charlie Sherman bit instant back in 2011.
So 2016, some random friend of a friend came to a pool party. He said, "What do you think about Ethereum?" I was like, "What's that?" He's it's cryptocurrency. I was like, "Is that the Bitcoin thing?" And then he's on, "Well, it's different. Just go check it out if you got some free time." I went home that day, researched Ethereum, and then researched what makes blockchain, SHA-256 encryption, decentralized nodes, and all that. And the light bulb went off when I understood decentralization.
You didn't get in on the ICO, did you?
No, I was about 1 year late on the ICO.
So you got like $5 or something.
Maybe.
$10, something.
Maybe. I'm not telling you.
I'm sorry, Liam.
No, it's fine. It's my online alias, Mr. Pink.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I actually still have access to your spreadsheet you shared with me in 2017.
Oh,
or 2018.
how's the predictions go? Are you talking about the predictions?
Yes.
Is
The
how
Bitcoin
bad?
was the most wrong, but pretty much everything else is pretty correct.
Yes. I just predicted prices. It was stupid. I mean, there's
No,
really
dude,
what
it was
year?
hold on. He's being modest here. This was the most elaborate spreadsheet I've ever seen in my life. Like, he had so many columns. I didn't even know that Excel went past C. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, what? And he had all sorts of shit like notes and like why he thinks it'll go up or down and what the ceiling is, 5, 10, 7.5 years, whatever,
years and
months,
months.
whatever, something like that. And it was, some of them were surprisingly accurate.
Yeah.
You definitely underestimated Bitcoin, though. You thought Bitcoin would be worthless right now.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Well, no. So the reason for Bitcoin was I thought Ethereum would overtake.
So you're a flippening believer.
Yeah. I still think I actually don't understand why Bitcoin is number one. As in, I don't see without a good layer 2 for it. It's like MySpace when Facebook.
Well, Bitcoin's good at doing one thing. It's good at being decentralized, and it's good at being hard money that can't be attacked. Yes, depending on what you believe with the hash miner mafia or whatever. Even though it's exited, and now it's in Texas for the most part. You see places like El Salvador and now Brazil adopting Bitcoin. It's because it does one thing. It's not going to change, and it needs 90% voting power for something to change in it, right? If they want to add a BIP proposal of some sort, like with the Shore rings. So I think it's Shore rings, the new one that got approved earlier in this year.
So the simplicity of it, maybe it's strength.
Yeah, because if you're a sovereign nation like El Salvador, you don't want to buy Ethereum where the gas fees are $100, and that at any given moment the miners can change, and the dev team and Vitalik decides he wants to do something else, and now all of the consensus has changed. Like you can't.
They're not that.
They just added the EIP 1559 recently, which was just something that had come up within the last like 6 months to a year.
Yeah, but there's a good reason for it. They're not just doing.
Yeah, but if you're a sovereign nation, you don't want that shit happening. You're literally the poorest country in the world, right? You're like the murder capital. You need something that you need something.
Come on, El Salvador.
Yeah, you need something that's going to stay how it is, because that's the reason why a lot of these countries became hyperinflated, is because the leader was making decisions from a central authority position of power, and just basically being a massive detriment to their economic system and leading to ruin. So with Bitcoin, and now you have a large amount of wealth concentrated in it, it's really hard to migrate that amount of capital over to Ethereum when it's still having all these issues. Do I believe the flippening will happen at some point? Probably. I mean, it's the internet. It's the internet's digital playground for experimentation, right? That's Ethereum is where all the metaverses and NFTs and all this shit happens. Then it kind of spreads to all these different layer ones. Mm-hmm. With Bitcoin, all you need to do is make sure it does one thing very good: digital gold, right? Look at gold's a $10 trillion market cap. It literally does nothing. I mean, it's a gold rock, shiny rock that gets used in some electrical components.
Were priced based off their usefulness, copper would be the most valuable shit on the planet.
Yeah,
by far.
It comes out. Crypto is like it's a faith-based system, and a lot of these people have incentive because of game. Are you familiar with game theory? What game theory is? Well, yeah.
Me and Joe talk about it.
Yeah,
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Joe knows a lot about it.
Game
That's
theory.
a different spreadsheet.
Yeah,
I am the most game theory person of all time.
That's a pretty big. That's a pretty big game theory. Well,
it applies to everything. FYI.
Yeah, the macro game theory of Bitcoin is much larger than some of the micro game theories that exist within Ethereum with the different sectors of NFTs and social tokens and DeFi and all this stuff. The macro game theory is now you're getting all of these sovereign nations adopting Bitcoin where their GDPs are in the billions or trillions of dollars, and they're kind of they're forced to participate, because if they don't, then they're losing out on all of this capital that they could be accruing and domiciling within their own country. And so it's really hard to dismiss that, especially now in places like the United States where you have politicians doing laser eyes and Tom Brady and all these people on Twitter like signaling that they own Bitcoin. It becomes a social status as well as being able to hoard your money and know that no one can ever take it of some sort. So it's just, it's really tough. Even though it is this like outdated, they call it boomer coin, which kind of is honestly. But the thing that I like most about Bitcoin is not even the monetary component to it. It's it incentivizes energy innovation, right? So because Bitcoin miners, you need power, right? You need to have proof of work. You need to capture a large amount of power because the more users that come on, the difficulty increases. Therefore, it takes more power. So there's companies that are optimizing energy through hydropower, through solar power. You have people like Marty Bent with the Great American Mining Company who are capturing flares off of these oil rigs, right? So like when they're mining for oil, there's these flares that come out of the pipes, and that energy is never captured. It just exists and goes into the air. So this company captures the flares that are happening, which I think they said it's like 10 to 25% of the actual power or energy that's being extracted from the earth.
What's crazy, nobody thought to do that.
But they never had it they were never incentivized to do this.
We're just trying to sell this oil, bro.
Right? And
so back in the day, oil used to be exclusively for kerosene lamps, and all the shit we use now was just a byproduct they let out in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah, and so now these people with these mining companies, they're taking that and they're harnessing it and converting it into energy, which then is going through the Bitcoin mining system. So they're pulling unused power and extracting it, and then you're incentivizing the innovation of better solar panels, which have better I forget what they're called, what the units are within like the solar panels.
Oh, the photovoltaic cells.
Something like that, yeah. And then with hydropower now, and even El Salvador is mining through a volcano. Oh, yeah. They got that volcano energy, bro.
Thermo. Well, so to be clear to our audience, it's not like Team Bitcoin versus Team Ethereum.
Yeah, they're two different things in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you spoke very eloquently about Bitcoin. That's the most compelling future talk about Bitcoin I've heard in a long time.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Is Ethereum money? 100%. I believe it. Do I think it can overtake Bitcoin? Yeah. But I think in the immature state of the crypto market, even now at $2 trillion, I think if Bitcoin was ever overtaken, it would be a huge blow to the industry, because then it becomes king of the hill, where then you get shitcoins and Dogecoin coming up to be number one, because then it all becomes a joke. Yeah. But if Bitcoin remains number one and the king, it shows there's a reason why, because it actually has like a fairly good technological structure compared to things like Dogecoin and Sheeb. And Sheeb actually has decent tech, but it hasn't been tested yet. So those are kind of like the two ideas. The Bitcoin versus Ethereum ETH maxis versus Bitcoin maxis. They're both fucking terrible people. Although I have to say Max Kaiser is fucking hilarious, and so I kind of like him. But
who, Max Kaiser?
You know who Max Kaiser is? Max Kaiser was he created in the early, I think it was like the early 90s or late 90s or early 2000s, a Hollywood stock exchange that was a stock compared to Hollywood celebrities that had the price fluctuating. Yeah. He's been a independent macro reporter for a long time. And so he was talking about like how the silver markets were rigged in the 90s, and gold was captured by the hedge funds and stuff like that. He started talking about Bitcoin in 2010 and buying it at $1. Yeah. Probably one of the richest people in the world, low key.
Yeah.
So he,
if he bought 12 Bitcoin at $1, then
he's been shilling it. Well, he's probably like one of the strongest Bitcoin maxis. Everything's a shit coin. Nothing else compares to Bitcoin, but it's because he has financially incentivized to go about it.
That's his gig now. Yeah.
That's his shtick.
Yeah.
But he's also a Bitcoin market maker. So it's like, I can't dismiss this guy if he's really worth $100 billion.
Yeah.
It's only going to continually grow. Like, I should definitely follow what he's saying, because it's what got him here.
Yeah.
Even though the toxic nature of what he's saying is kind of annoying.
Well, so
I think he's hilarious because he's kind of always been
I wish
like,
that Japanese guy would reveal himself.
Satoshi.
Yeah, Satoshi. Dorian Nakamoto.
Isn't he like the richest person on the planet?
Not yet. So I remember tweeting.
He's up there though.
Yeah,
right?
I remember tweeting. I think Satoshi, because Satoshi has it's been quoted around 1.2 billion or million Bitcoin.
Woo.
So
1.2 billion?
No, 1.2 million. So he has
That's
roughly
not much at all. What?
1.2 million Bitcoin times
Coin,
60,000.
coins, yeah.
I thought you meant dollar value. I'm sorry.
No, 1.2
That's
million. So I
Ignore
think
that.
I remember
Hey, cut that out. I'm sorry.
I'm leaving it in. It's staying
leave
in.
it. I remember tweeting a few years ago saying
Chump
like,
change.
who's going to be the first trillionaire on the planet? Is it going to be Satoshi or is it going to be Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Because obviously Tesla's doing really
racing.
well.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has SpaceX, which is private, and now he has Starlink and the boring tunnel. So like all of that value eventually will translate into $1 trillion.
Yeah.
But once Bitcoin gets to, let's say 500K, so I think Satoshi will be around $1 trillion at that point, or it'd be like 560 billion. So all it needs to get to like
just
800K,
2x, yeah.
800K or something like that, and he'll be a trillionaire, whoever it
Yeah.
is. Though I think
I
it's
have been investing in Bitcoin lately.
good.
Nice.
Good. Buy
Just
my
because-
bags.
Because honestly, like I think 500K is lowball on it. I think it'll get to a million.
Well,
in a few years.
500K means that or 550,000 means it equates to the gold market cap. And as I discussed earlier in the conversation, when there's a disruptor in the space, it doesn't equate to its competitor. It like blows it out of the water, like hardcore. So,
Dude, something you said earlier reminded me of another business. I think you actually programmed this celebrity fantasy.
Celebrity deathmatch.
No, it's like a fantasy football made of
right.
celebrity.
Yeah, celebrity deathmatch.
oh, that's kind of fun, actually.
So me and a couple friends had this idea. We were over football because fantasy football. So we were like, what if we did this with Lindsay Lohan, Kim Kardashian? So I actually programmed a website where you could draft celebrities. And then, but the problem was Lindsay Lohan was fucking killing it.
Destroying everybody.
The algorithm, it can.
What was the scoring system?
So it would go out to all like TMC News, NBC News, any news. It would look for their name. The more their name showed up, and then there was keywords like murder. You get way more points. Death was the ultimate points driven one.
It's like your celebrity died.
Wait, are you trying to take advantage of true crime people, murderinos?
Say that again.
They would just have to get popular enough.
Murderinos?
What's a murderino?
Someone listens to murder podcasts?
Oh, no. This is way back, 10 years ago or something? It was
8 years.
I'll forgive it.
The idea was to assign points to a celebrity's like tabloid presence,
Per
right?
week.
The more news they could generate on the internet would give them fantasy points.
So who was the highest scorer?
Lindsay Lohan at that time was fucking destroying it.
Was Brittany Pretty good?
Brittany was up there. She was, I think, in the top 20.
Yeah, she hasn't shaved her head yet.
Yeah.
Was Bieber big back then?
Bieber was big back then.
For sure.
But the algorithm that I wrote, Lindsay kept on. Anyone that drafted her, you'd pretty much win every week. It was terrible. She was getting like 1,000 points every week, and then everybody else was like 100.
Paris
points.
Hilton still back then?
Yeah. Paris Hilton
Yeah.
was like I want to say she was top 5 back then.
Your friend Paris Hilton,
right? I still have that article saved where my name's right next to it. Like, fuck yeah. Put me on fantasy football.
That's right.
It's so funny how fantasy football is so ingrained into like the man like ecosystem, because when I was in college, when I was in the fraternity, we held, me and a few of my fraternity brothers, we held a secret pledge fantasy football draft.
Okay.
Where we drafted a bunch of the pledges on this team.
Yeah.
And we created this scoring system of like how many times they were hazed, how many times they got in trouble, how many times they were at the house, did they hook up with a chick at the party, like, and then we would compile the scoring list every time.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That was super funny. And I think my friend Whitey still has the trophy from when we won that year. The pledge fantasy draft. But I've heard so many different variations of like a fantasy draft like that. It's just like such a perfect like activity for humans.
Yeah, you're
Specifically
gamifying
men.
real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
We thought me and my friends thought it would be a hit, and then especially like, I won't say his name. One of the person in the group, his wife. We asked her, so would you be interested in this game? She's like, not really. And then we for funds, we're like, name off some celebrities, and she was like, Lindsay Lohan, Justin Bieber. She went down this whole list like, we thought you said you didn't know celebrity news, and she like named off a huge list. We're like, okay, so maybe you might be a good person to play this. But it ended up not working out. Like, I guess, I don't know if it's women in general, they don't have that competition bone. And fantasy football is a competition thing, even though you're just owning a digital representation of the points. But I think
not
women.
an NFT though, right?
Right. That's fantasy football is the original NFT. Well, it's I think it comes down to like a human psychology thing, or a human, I guess it'd be, how do I describe this? Men are primarily activity based, while women are heavily emotionally based. So women tend to engage in conversation more because it pertains to estrogen, whereas men participate in activities more because it pertains to testosterone.
It's a good thing you're not cancelable, Jake.
Too small to be canceled.
There's a lot of days out there right now that didn't like that at all.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you could try to Dave Chappelle me. Can't happen.
Have you guys watched the latest Chappelle special?
I watched it a few times actually. I think Dave's hilarious, honestly. I'm not a big fan of cancel culture. I do understand that, yes, the pronoun thing, and people want to be in their safe space, and you should respect whatever a person wants to be called, whether it's their nickname, their gender, whatever. Like, I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with people canceling individuals based off their past actions, because now you're inferring that they'll never change, right? So if you canceled somebody based off of something they said 20 years ago, they're a completely different person. And now you're saying that the person that exists today is the same exact person that existed 20 years ago. And for 99.9% of society, that's just like not true.
Yeah, the coach of the Raiders just got bounced for old emails.
That was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I heard they were pretty bad, but even then, like, I know the NFL is at a different place where they're on, you're on like the global stage, and so there's different ways that you have to present yourself.
There's also, I mean, it's also a bunch of knuckleheads tackling each other. Like, how much sophistication do you want?
Yeah.
From this sport? Like, but you're right. I think he should be able to apologize, right? He should be able to say, hey,
or let somebody come clean, hear what they have to say. At least. Like, you shouldn't just let them hide and just like put their tail behind their legs and like go in the corner.
Enjoy his millions. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And like following a lot of different podcasters, like I should say, internet personalities, if you follow like the dark web or the intellectual dark web, Joe Rogan, the Weinstein brothers, who else is Sam Harris, Heather Eying. There's a handful of them.
I was never a fan of the Weinstein brothers.
I love them. I love Eric.
They made some of the best movies you've ever seen. So
Joe's getting canceled. Joe's getting canceled now because of that statement.
Yeah, probably. You had just killed my run for city comptroller of District 42.
I love Eric Weinstein because he's probably the most intelligent person I've ever come across. I've never met him in person, but whenever he's in a conversation, I feel like I'm watching somebody paint a picture. He's just like his vocabulary is so superior to the average individual, and he uses. When I first started watching his podcast and his public appearance, I would have to pause every minute because he'd be introducing new words that I've never heard before. After a while, you pick up on what he's saying because he's so intellectually captivating. But he has a lot of interesting things to say, and oftentimes he's going against the grain, and he's on his own island when he's saying these things in a room that's against him. And I really applaud people who do that because it's not easy in today's age to do that kind of thing. And especially in like the theoretical physics sector and the university education, where he calls them all gated institutions and calling out academics and
I do think he's smart. The place where he loses me is that he does go into these institutional constructs and he sees everything through that lens. Where there's this institutional
calls it the gated institutions.
Yeah, and then he sees everything in light of that. And I'm like, well, I don't think everything is about that. But he ends up talking about that a lot, and how everything is either part of that or a fight against that. And I think that's a little bit skewed.
He could be a little bit in his own way. He classifies a lot of today's theatrics is kayfabe. He uses this word a lot. Have you heard that at all?
No, I haven't listened to anything recent.
So kayfabe is, and I might be using the wrong word. I'm pretty sure it's the right word.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that WWE follows, right? Where it's a scripted show, and everyone knows it's a scripted show, but it's acted out as its reality, and you have an audience who's aware that it's a scripted show, but is also playing the parts that it's a real show. So it's almost like an inception within an inception. And so he compares a lot of real world theatrics of politics and academia and the workforce and stuff, as this is like everyone's aware there's a show happening, but yeah, everyone's still playing along. And why are they playing along when you don't have to, right? That's like the wage slavery idea. Most of these people.
Yeah. Or like if you catch a politician cheating or having sex outside of marriage or something, like everybody's shocked and appalled. It's like, why? This happens all the time. Like,
yeah, it's just human nature.
Yeah. How do you not expect these lying politicians to do dirty shit? Like, why are you shocked? So I totally agree with that.
So I find
aspect.
I find Eric very interesting, but then also his brother Brett on the whole green. What was the college that he was teaching at with the cancel culture thing that happened?
Yeah.
Where they literally Evergreen College. Yeah, with him and his wife, where. He I don't know if you guys have talked about this on the show or not, but he was a college professor at Evergreen. He was considered and always voted as one of the best professors there. There was like a minority event happening where they asked all of the white professors to leave campus, and while the minorities can protest on campus. And he refused to do that because he said, this is racist. Like, how can you just shoo all the white people off of campus and then have a protest about racism? This is literally directly a racist thing. Yeah. And so then he stayed on campus, and the mob came after him with baseball bats, and he ended up hiding in a closet or something like that, and had to be retrieved. He had to be retrieved by, I think, the police department or the fire department or something like that. Yeah. And then he was on Fox News, and him and his wife ended up getting fired for this entire thing. And so he has a very interesting perspective. Yeah. And he's also a biologist, so he understands.
Oh, really? That's
cool. He's a hardcore biologist. So he understands like human evolution, and now he's gone on to talk about, COVID being man-made and all these, I forget the ivermectin thing that's happening. Yeah.
So I love that he took that stand originally. I did see one debate where he was kind of like talking to Richard Dawkins.
Who's also a pretty hard intellectual.
Yeah, but I didn't really buy into anything he was kind of saying in that talk. And then I don't think ivermectin's a smart thing to be backing. Sam Harris actually, I'm probably the biggest Sam Harris fanboy, and Sam has summed it up pretty easily on Brett Weinstein's current ivermectin.
They have a hardcore beef right now, both of them. I haven't followed either of them in about a month or two. Yeah. But I know last time I was listening to them, there was like some beef between them, and now Sam doesn't even engage with Brett anymore.
Yeah, just that it's irresponsible to kind of misguide the public on what's smart and safe,
So wait, hold on. Let me ask everyone here. Yeah. Do you guys all prefer the apple or the peach flavored horse paste? Which one goes out easier? I just want to make sure everyone knows.
I've never been a peach fan.
So
unless you're talking about emojis.
Then it's eggplant.
All day. Delicious.
In regards to Sam Harris and your big Sam Harris friend, are you on his side or the opposite side of free will?
I kind of don't care about free will. So that's one where he's like, we don't have free will, but in the end, we kind of have to act like we do. So it's like, well, what's the point of? I just don't see the point of it all. Like, you can make a very long, structured argument. I agree that you don't choose where you were born. You don't choose who you are. You don't choose, how smart you are. You don't choose your motivations. So you don't choose any of the variables that puts us here at this table at this moment. But you still got to live your life. What do you do? Just lay on the couch?
Yeah. So right? That's how you just get sucked away into depression. Why is the world's meaningless? After a shroom trip. Just God damn it.
After we're done recording, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to eat? Am I going to sleep? Am I going to so in that sense, you got to make choices. You got to.
Yeah. So. And one of his ideas is that the human body is governed by hormones, which are produced based off of stimulation from the environment. So therefore you're a respondent to the environment based off of your chemical reactions in your body. So you're actually not choosing to do all these things. It's just a reaction based off of what's presented to you from the stimuli of the environment, which also makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there's just like so much randomness that happens. Like I remember having this conversation with some of my fraternity brothers at like 7 a.m, just like after a party.
Yes. After you won the fantasy
right,
pledge.
the pledge fantasy draft. Just talking about like where does a thought come from, right? Like we know a thought is electrical impulse that's just sent through the brain through your synapses and and axons and some of that stuff.
Dendrites.
But like where does that electrical impulse come from? Like what makes you have these exact thoughts? I know in the middle of this conversation, you're presenting a conversation, so I'm responding to that. But like when you're sitting on your own or just like when there's dead air and you have a conversation, like what jump started that thought?
Right.
And I don't think science has actually figured out where that thought comes from either, which is just one of those loose ends of that free will conversation.
Yeah. And I'm okay with things like that not having an answer. It's like, yeah, we have random thoughts. All right, cool. I still got to figure out.
That's all I need to know. I still got to figure out what I got to eat.
Okay, I got to eat dinner. I still want to be a good guy. I think you're a good guy. We all, care about morality. We care about, helping other people. So I think all that stuff is what matters, is what you do with your days here on Earth. You can choose not to waste tomorrow in some way, right? So how many people are going to waste tomorrow on something senseless?
Squid Game marathon.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the free will thing. I'm okay with it not having an answer, but I also want someone, or whether it be me or someone, it's most likely other people that do their research. I don't think we should shut the door on it. Just as long as people are doing research, and then for now, I don't know the answer. Nobody knows the answer, so I have to live as if I do have free will.
But what if somebody tells you, hey, you definitely don't have free will? Does that change anything?
Well, hopefully, no. If they figured out a true answer, then they should be able to give some better advice than just saying that. Meaning, if they somehow they have some magical device, some mathematician stuff that they figured out free will, because say free will comes from electrical impulses that come from another dimension. Hopefully they be able to tell that dimension has control of us or something, whatever. I'm just
We're all puppets.
Yeah. If they were able to figure that
Lost.
out. What was that? Oh, you're getting lost?
Nothing.
Meanwhile, Joe's just hitting the bong in the background.
If they figured that out, hopefully they'd have a better answer.
I guess. I mean, I didn't choose not to be Tom Brady. I would much rather be Tom Brady.
I'd rather be Dan Bilzarian.
Oh my Lord.
I'd rather be Tom than Dan.
No,
Even
you're kidding,
well,
right?
even
No, come on, man. Getting pushing the limit here.
Talk about eggplants.
I don't think, from what I understand of his morality, I wouldn't want to be his morality, but his lifestyle, having all those girls, the boats, the yachts, shooting
golden machine guns.
Will you be saying that in 2 years when he's in prison for fucking fraud?
No, that's why I'm saying. I think the morality that from my understanding of his morality, it's going to lead him down that path. But to have all the fun, that I would like to have his Instagram fun, if that makes sense.
Oh my God!
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we're on the same page.
They're not joking when they say he's the king of Instagram. Like he has the most Instagram lifestyle you can imagine.
He used to come into the nightclub all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and always with chicks. Sometimes pretty quiet and not doing anything, but then other times pretty loud,
just tearing it up.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
He turned around to fucking fill a glass of water and he did a fucking line the size of a goddamn snake. He
was always polite though to the staff.
Nice.
So that's
did he tip well though? Being polite's one thing. Being polite and not tipping, that's
I never had him at a table. I've been around his section, but I was never at the table to know for sure.
But you would hear if he was cheap.
Yeah, I would definitely. That's first thing the service staff does.
He was okay at least.
The girl's bitching in the back. Yeah. Motherfucker only tipped 18%. I'm like, goddamn.
18%? That's low.
For Vegas, the standard's 20.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess.
But there are a bunch of people who would just tip 5%, 10%, especially when they spend like 50 grand and they tip like a K. Like,
their wallet starts hurting.
Well, that's a little bit different, yeah. And especially if somebody comes in every single day, literally, and tips 10% consistently, that's not bad. you know,
That's
10%
pretty bad, I'm not gonna
low.
lie.
But
It's
if they
it's
come in
different
every
if
day or
you're
most days,
it's
like,
different if you're balling out at a nightclub.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a different game.
the thing with
Oh,
like
that's
a
true.
bunch of these Vegas nightclubs is they're considered, at least for Omni when I was working there, is considered an ultra luxury brand.
Yeah.
So if you want to participate in an ultra luxury brand, you should have ultra luxury money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or just go through GA where you don't have to deal with
Yeah. Don't be the cheap guy at the Ritz-Carlton.
it. True. Yeah, you get a bunch of stares.
Yeah. When you walk into the fanciest joint and start asking, oh, how much is the rum and coke? You know, you got any happy hour specials? You got a
You're
veterans
gonna get a lot of eye rolls.
Yeah, like-
immediately.
Like,
give
like
me
I-
your finest well,
yeah.
sir.
yeah, I'm not rich and I've been poor. When I was poor, I didn't go hang out at fancy places. You know?
I was the same way.
Yeah. Like,
You know, dive bars.
yeah, I'm hanging out at Arby's, so that's where I'm hanging out.
You're gonna sneak a exactly. Sneak a tall boy into an Arby's. That's how you do it. That's frugal advice right there. I like it.
Dude, you know what's funny is when we did that coffee shop about 10 years ago, Instagram and Foursquare were the two hot new brand new internet cell phone thing.
I don't even remember Foursquare.
Foursquare, you would check in and you become the king of whatever restaurant because you were there the most.
Oh, and then what? Facebook adopted it and it went downhill.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's really a king of. You can
Facebook
you can
has
check in
check-ins.
places. Yeah, but that was the big thing about Foursquare. Oh, I'm the guy that comes to this park the most, so I'm the king of this park.
When I was in college, I always wanted to create an app called What It Do, and it's basically like a publicized calendar of what you're going to do through the day, and then people could choose, or you could say this is an open event, like I'm going to the movies at 7, and then a
Yeah.
bunch of people could see it and say, hey, I want to come with you, and
That works if you're popular.
if you're popular, yeah, or if you just I guess if you're like a Craigslist killer, and you're like hanging out in the bathroom for 3 hours.
I think for most people, it would lead to suicide when nobody joins you for dinner.
Oh yeah, that could also be.
Nobody likes me.
What's random question? What's your thoughts on Lex Fridman? You mentioned him earlier. I love
Lex.
Okay, so
I think he's good. I've been following him now since episode 20 or something like that, like super early.
Did you go back and watch the first 19 or you didn't?
So when I first started my podcast, I actually went through and watched the first 10 episodes of Joe Rogan all the way through, and then went about every other one till the end. I probably watched about 300 episodes over like 3 or 4 months.
No, it's
And
interesting.
took a bunch of notes.
Something interesting on Lex. The first 10, the first 15. So Emmett mentioned something like, man, Lex has some really big names. So I went through and searched. I think number 3 was the head guy from Google. Larry something.
Larry
Schmidt.
One of the Google guys?
Sean,
Larry Page?
Larry Page, yeah.
And then number 13 was Elon Musk.
He had Elon Musk very early too.
And then there was Steven Pinker was like number 1 or something.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
a
like,
neuroscientist, right?
the
Quantum physics or something.
I think he's philosopher. I think.
Pinker is, he looks at the data and says the world's getting better based on the data. He's done some TED Talks and stuff.
So
Crime
kind of
is down.
for us being in podcasting. I mean, that's a fucking nutty start. Fucking start out with Pinker and then get to Eric Schmidt or Larry Page.
He was also on Joe Rogan very early. I think he went on to Joe Rogan within the first like 20 episodes of him starting. So
That's
that
crazy.
helped give him credibility.
He was tied into Silicon Valley somehow.
MIT, he graduated from MIT. So he was around all of these like very wealthy people that are highly
researchers.
educated, AI researchers. I like Lex. I used to watch him pretty religiously for a long time before I started my podcast. The only issue I have with him is he just talks so slow.
Yeah, he's a fucking robot, man.
And you can see him. I understand, like, because he's a very good interviewer. He doesn't say or and. He doesn't, like, he takes long pauses. He thinks very methodically about how he's going to present his questions. Especially in the beginning, he used to have pages and pages of notes. He doesn't even have that anymore because now he's done
pro.
200 episodes.
Is he wearing the same suit?
Same suit,
still is.
yeah. I love when he has Michael Malice.
Michael
on.
Malice.
Yeah.
Fucking Michael Malice comes in with a North Korean uniform on, and then what was
He did a reverse suit one time too, where he wore an all white suit with a black tie.
Nice.
yeah. But then because he wanted it reverse suit on Lex.
He wanted to be the inverse of Lex.
Yeah.
It was like the idea of it.
I want to say Lex wore the Soviet Union soldier uniform for that one with Michael Malice on when Michael Malice wore the North Korean.
And Lex is also a great example of like the modern day podcaster who's now just become like somebody of power and that people look up to and just through having honest, open conversations. That's what people want. That's why I was doing my podcast in the beginning for 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of people like those mistakes, right? They like that you have to think in some of those pauses, and the highly produced shows, a lot of the consumers don't like, because that's kind of how they were indoctrinated through traditional media with the
They don't want another sales pitch.
Yeah, 3-minute clips, or trying to catch your interviewee's response and use it out of context. But with long form conversations, you can't do that at all. Yeah. And a lot of people identify with that. The only issue is that you need to have some sort of clout to your name, some chutzpah, as we say in the Jewish culture, right? So he had a great start. And so you don't see as many long form pods popping up and becoming sensations like he has, maybe because it's saturated, or maybe just the right person hasn't come in and do it.
Yeah.
But from going back to what Lem was saying in the beginning, and I don't remember who presented this to you, saying that there's going to be a Joe Rogan in every city. Sager is saying it.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, because globalization is on the decline now ever since COVID. Localism's coming to a new high. I remember I was tweeting about this like when the pandemic happened. Thank you, sir. Localism's returning. People are understanding the value of local politics, having things homegrown, manufacturing plants in your own country, your own state.
Yeah.
And so people are looking to find something that's more specialized, especially because the world is becoming hyper specialized with technology, right? You can't, all the land that's exists has been explored unless you go down to the ocean, right? Or out into the stars. So you can't explore the land. All of the basic utensils and utilities have been created, right? There's a power company, there's the water company, chairs have been made, tables. So you have to find some sort of industry and hyper specialize into what you're doing. That's why I think memes are becoming so popular. It's just a hyper specialized industry within the internet culture, which internet culture has been loosely explored. And so I think that's what crypto is kind of like bringing into the spotlight, is that this is an industry that's almost like the Wild Wild West, or the new digital frontier, as a lot of people like to call it. And podcasting, if you become a voice of power within one of these hyper specialized areas on the internet or in your local economy, then people will gravitate to you and listen to you more, because because you're sharing credibility with everybody. But on a macro perspective, it's impossible. Joe Rogan does it because he was one of the first 1,000 podcasts. So he had the idea, I could just talk to pretty much anybody in the world and get there.
Dude, we tried to watch some Adam Carolla the other day.
Oh man,
it's hard to watch.
He's just become such a hyper Republican now. It's hyper conservative. It's really hard at times.
I haven't listened to him in years.
Yeah,
that's disappointing.
It just becomes like a Democrat bashing kind of conversation.
I wonder. Emmett made a point where maybe it was because Dr. Drew, back in the day, it was Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. So maybe Dr. Drew was the thing that we were all interested in, and Adam Carolla was just the
he's actually the most watched podcast, or one of the most watched podcasts.
On certain metrics, yes.
On certain. Yeah, I know he advertised it. I don't know what the metrics are, though. I mean, I know trying to be Joe Rogan with 10 million views per episode is probably not going to happen. So I don't know what metrics he's using.
If I remember correctly, when we looked it up, it was on that specific platform. So it's kind of lame to say he was the number one, because it was only on that one website that Adam Carolla was number one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you go walk around, ask people.
Most people know who he is.
Yeah, but if you say, do you listen to Adam Carolla podcast? You can get a lot of no's. And then, do you listen to Joe Rogan? You can get a lot of yeses. So that's a really
agree.
He's our Howard Stern. He's like the modern day Howard Stern. That's why he gets paid like him, $10 million or $100 million a year or more. That was just like without the incentives. That's just the loose end contract for it.
Dude, even the people that weren't necessarily big on the podcast scene still make obscene amounts of money and command huge audiences. Like Rush Limbaugh before he died, he was one of the biggest people, like one of the biggest voices in the world. You know, and obviously if you're not aligned with that political spectrum, you probably didn't listen to it.
Yeah.
but there were literally millions of people listened every day. You know,
Yeah.
wasn't, like I said, wasn't quite podcast format yet.
Yeah.
And you see this a lot, just in general. Like even like Steve Harvey. Who gives a fuck about Steve Harvey, right? Well,
The guy on Family Feud?
Yeah. But
Okay.
his biggest revenue source is he has a radio show. Did you know that?
Yeah. It's like he does one show and it goes to all the different cities. Is that the thing?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does like a podcast radio show thing, and you know, he makes fuck tons of money from that. You know, and all these other guys too.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
like you were saying, like Howard Stern. You know, I mean, it's just the voice is incredible.
Yeah. Do you still follow the Podfather, Adam Curry? He's the guy. He's the guy.
Podfather.
Yeah,
I like that.
He had the
I
first
like that a lot.
first podcast, and he's the one who named it the podcast.
Huh.
Really?
First show in 2004. Yeah. So when Joe, he lived out in Texas.
Okay.
Which now, having this conversation, I realize all of the OG podcasters are all conservatives now. Maybe
conservative radio has been. I was trying to avoid that, but yeah, conservative radio is massive.
It's massive. And so like Joe's was a Democrat. He's becoming a Republican now just because of, I don't think it's the wealth that it is. It's more the embracement of individualism more so. And I had this thought when I first started my podcast too. If you look at all the popular individual podcasters, a large majority of them are conservatives. But can you name, and there are so many popular conservatives that are just voices, not just for conservatism, but just in general who are conservative. But can you name any individual Democratic podcasters who embrace being a liberal? No, most of the popular Democratic-based podcasts are groups of people or they're entities of some sort. And so that was just like a realization that I had when I was starting my podcast, is that the like liberals tend to have that like groupthink hive mind and they do everything together. Whereas Republicans tend to be very individual based, have their own show, proud of their identity.
I was going to say Yang, but he went independent.
Yeah.
Third party.
Yang gang.
Yang gang.
Yeah.
He's a smart man, dude. We need technical literacy in politics. Like,
Oh my god!
like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like 10
That
years
shit
ago.
drives me fucking bananas. Anytime I always know I'm gonna regret it, but sometimes I'll watch like the hearings they have with like tech companies,
Oh,
and
man.
it's
Fuck.
beyond absurd.
Yeah,
it's just
man.
like, good lord, dude, somebody needs to take Grandpa home, you know.
For example, like he's talking about like when Mark Zuckerberg was reprimanded by Senate, and the questions was fucking stupid. Like, oh, can you listen to me through? Can you listen to us on our phone if we have Facebook installed? And Zuckerberg's like, you could turn it off. They're like, but can you listen to me? They kept on asking, like, do you not understand what Zuckerberg's saying? Like, there's a place
To
to
be
turn it
100%
off.
honest, I honestly think that a lot of the older ones, they actually do know what they're talking about because they've been briefed about it. I think that they're just trying to get sound bites and pandering to their base.
Yeah, it's theatrics. That's what a lot of politics are.
They're just trying to pretend like they're being tough on, social media and, like they just, I don't know. They're like trying to perpetrate an image. Even if they don't know, their handlers know. The people that tell them how to act know.
The politicians that embrace technology and social media are the ones who are winning. One day last year, I was watching AOC on Twitch. She does like live random Twitch shows. This girl had 50,000 live watchers.
Well, any chick on Twitch, right?
Yeah, right. It was just incredible to see like how many people, especially like the younger generation, are just watching her on Twitch while she's just like hanging out, engaging with people. And I'm like, a lot of these old school politicians can't command that kind of audience in a
But
live
it's smart. You're going where the
sensation.
young generation is.
And there's not that many politicians who are still in 2021 going down that road, which it just blows my mind that how far behind our political representatives are with technical literacy, even just the most simplistic forms of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
That's pretty horrible.
There's a little bit of a jump, but I have to ask before Liem goes into the final questions.
That's what I'm about to do.
Do you guys know about the current Tom Brady and Bitcoin stuff?
That he was giving the dude Bitcoin for the 600th touchdown pass ball.
Yeah, he threw his 600 touchdown pass, and then the receiver went and gave it to somebody in the crowd because that was his gig. He always gives it to somebody in the crowd, and then he didn't realize, that was a special ball to Tom. So somebody from the team went to go get the ball back from the guy. And the guy, you know, he's a good guy, and he never sits in the front row, and everybody's watching him, so he gives the ball back. But everybody else is like, "Fuck! You should have auctioned that. You should have sold that. How much is that ball worth?"
Dude, you should have demanded to see their NFT to prove they owned it.
Yeah. So it became this big controversy, right? Did the guy own the ball, or is it Tom's ball, or what? Right. So Tom, to make it right, is giving him a whole bunch of free shit. The Buccaneers are giving him a whole bunch. He's getting free season tickets. So great, right? The guy gets to win. But one of the things is Tom Brady gave him a Bitcoin through this
FTX.
Yeah.
So FTX is one of his sponsors,
Yeah.
which is a popular crypto exchange.
Yeah. So the guy gets.
So that means that he did.
What's it?
They probably paid for that whole thing.
You cut out. What did you say?
I said they probably paid for the whole thing then.
FTX, yeah.
If they were a sponsor for it, I guarantee you he didn't pay a dime out of his own pocket.
Yeah, but that's great marketing for them, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's great marketing.
If you know who SBF is, Sam Bankman-Fried, who owns FTX, he's the richest person under 30 in the world.
Oh, really?
He's worth $22 or $29 billion. He's 29 years old.
Yeah, that's great.
And he made all of that wealth in 3 years.
Really?
He basically traded what's called the kimchi premium, which was in 2017. The Korean crypto markets would trade at a 20% premium from the American.
Yeah.
But in order to trade that, you had to have a residency in Korea. And most Koreans the government's really smart to not give it out to Americans to trade that. So I don't know what he did. He probably did something that's probably not legal or frowned upon to get that residency, and started trading that premium massively, and then opened FTX, and now it's like one of the most popular exchange. And he was Joe Biden's second largest donor. And now the Miami Heat arena is called the FTX Arena. They sponsor, like, Trevor Lawrence is sponsored by them, and a bunch of different athletes, Saquon Barkley by FTX, and so they get paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Solana is like one of their things.
Super money.
Yeah, super money. So
that's awesome.
Wealthy people. He'll be one of the richest people by the end of the decade for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start us into the final questions. First question for you. What great daily habit or habits do you have?
Intermittent fasting is something that I practice regularly, anywhere between 14 to 20 hours. Gym every day in the morning, so fasted gym session.
That's the opposite of my life. I'm just
Right.
I'm eating my way to the gym.
I eat fairly healthy, no fast food or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just try to stick to the routine that I've been doing. Going through social media, crypto markets, podcast, and trying to scale. That's hard, but but it all comes down to having a healthy diet and physical training session, whether it's just running or gym. But that's something I've been practicing for 15 years now.
When you do the 20 hours, so then that's, so like won't eat one morning, but then, no.
I never eat breakfast. So basically, my last meal is generally anywhere between 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., depending on the day. And then I usually don't eat until like between 12 to 2 or 3, 4 the next day, depending on whatever I'm doing. Gotcha. And obviously there's exemptions if I'm like super busy that day and need food, or I know I can't eat later. But intermittent fasting, I go into every podcast in a fasted state because I feel that it gives me more clarity.
That sounds like it'd be tough.
No, it's much easier actually. I always felt like going into a podcast, eating within a few hours beforehand, my mind felt very cloudy. But having hyper awareness, because you're in a fasted state, everything seems more clear. So your charisma skills are much improved. Your creativity, it seems to extend a little bit farther than what I'm used to. And so every podcast I go in fasted state, at least for the last 100 or so.
I feel like when I go, I want to say about the 8-hour mark, somewhere around there. Like, I don't know if it's sugar levels or that doesn't even make sense, I guess. But I feel like I feel super low energy, like super low. I'm afraid to like kind of do I don't even want to do any work related stuff that requires my brain.
You have to work past it.
So you get that feeling too?
I did it first, not anymore. Now it feels weird if I eat anything without a 12-hour fasting throws me off super hard.
Yeah, he's adjusted to a whole different mode.
Your body, so most eaters, I used to do keto and all these different diets. I graduated from UNLV with a kinesiology degree, so just health science kind of stuff. your body understands how to store glucose when you regularly practice intermittent fasting. So it doesn't pull as much from the reserves for just minimal activities like sitting at a table or something like that. And even going from the gym, I still feel, if I'm in a fasted state, that I have an abnormal amount of energy. Mm-hmm. And so you're actually, extending the human lifespan is heavily tied to fasting.
Yeah.
So one of my goals since I was a young kid was to try to live forever. Obviously practiced really bad habits with drug use and alcohol and all this stuff for a long time.
The nightclubs didn't help.
The nightclubs, but definitely getting there to that state to whenever we are altered carbon or whatever the next form of conscious extension is. I'm hoping to get there.
It's a different metaverse.
Yeah, right? I'll upload myself. I'm down.
I'll tell you what, Jake, that sounds like a lot of free will.
Boom.
At least willpower. Shit.
Willpower, yeah.
That's amazing.
All right, next question. Typically, the next question is, what do you know or think of cryptocurrency? But we talked a lot about that. So I think I'm going to summarize that question in 2 or 3 sentences. What crypto advice would you give to the general people?
This is not financial advice.
Mm-hmm.
We are not financial
NFA.
advisors. Yeah.
Buy Bitcoin or Ethereum first. Not a small amount, but enough to get your feet wet and make you feel financially motivated to learn everything with the ecosystem, from wallet transfer to basic activities. But I always recommend everyone put maybe a few $100s in first. Maybe take.
I go the other route and I tell people to put in $10,000. And it's like, no, don't do that.
Nobody's gonna do it.
I would say take half of a paycheck and put it in. So now if you're working a regular wage job, now you have 80 hours invested into
now you
this.
care. Yeah.
Now you care about it. So it's enough for you to learn.
What's your crypto breakdown? Not the amount, but like 5% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum. What's your breakdown?
Okay. I've been 99% crypto since 2017. So I would say right now it's probably still pretty heavily Mooncats. I would say maybe 60-70% Mooncat NFT, Mooncat Rare Pepes, and then 30% Bitcoin and maybe 10% ETH. But NFTs are just leveraged Ethereum. So I classify NFTs as ETH because when you're selling NFTs, you're selling it into ETH. It's just leveraged ETH. But there's a certain amount of Bitcoin I have, which I said I'll never go below that. And so I'll never go below that. And that's kind of where it sits for now until I can acquire more.
Yeah. In 2016, I probably put in, I don't know, was it half? Yeah, maybe almost half a paycheck, I guess, but did it for a few months. And now my net worth is like 99% crypto.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
All right, next.
Are you counting that Acura up front?
That Acura, it is not worth much.
Assets. Anytime I go over a certain dollar amount in my bank account, at least from 2017 to 2020, it would just get reinvested into crypto. Like I would never keep more than maybe $3,000-$4,000 in the bank account.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I think I was kind of around that during 2016, 2017. All right, next question. What's the biggest problem for humans and what should we do to fix it?
I think I talk about this fairly often. Fear is like one of the biggest deterrents from people really living their full lives. Wage slavery, I think, is a huge issue. And the indoctrination of like traditional media that just oftentimes casts fear out into the public discourse. So it prevents people from going and taking these leaps of faith of being an entrepreneur, creating a business, podcast, whatever it is. But once you start doing these, you realize there's not really that much risk to it. Like maybe there's some slight capital risk, slight reputation risk, but it seems like such a farce once you get past that like mental obstacle that you put up there. So that's like always been one of my missions. It's something I talk about on my podcast and with crypto is that like living on your life on your own terms is literally just on the other side. All it takes is a few years of just putting your head down and dedication. In the bear market from 2018 to 2020, spent $50 a week on groceries, didn't buy clothes. Like I just bought this iPhone 2 weeks ago and I had an iPhone 8 for 5 years.
Yeah.
Drove the same car, lived very minimally to reinvest it because I knew that I had conviction in something. And if I've learned that if somebody has strong conviction in something, lean into it as heavy as possible, because even if it doesn't turn out right, that person will find out where that pivot is and you'll capitalize on it and turn it into a strong conviction play that'll benefit you most. So just going out and just double downing on yourself whenever there's opportunity is something that I highly encourage. It sounds risky, but I don't think it is based off of the amount of people that I've talked with. It's generally, I'd say, pretty high a hit rate.
Nice. Any objections or devil advocate questions on that?
It's tough if you come from nothing, because I finished high school. I'm 18. I got nothing. So, I got to get a job to pay some bills and stuff. It's tough to make that leap then if you're always behind, right?
I grew up very poor. I went to Chaparral High School. Graduation rate was under 50%. I grew up on free lunch my entire life.
Yeah. But
went to college for free because of grants.
Yeah.
Worked 40 hours a week throughout college. Always, parents never, I didn't have any investment from grandparents, parents, nothing like that. And I've worked for literally every single dollar I've ever worked for.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to willpower and grit at the end of the day. I've seen many people do it.
Yeah.
And if you start with nothing, to me, it feels like a superpower because you understand the mental gymnastics that are associated with starting from nothing. You understand how to have social control of a conversation, how to exude, body language, social cues, all these different things. And so I think that's actually a positive for many successful people. I think it's like 60% of millionaires are self-made, and that's for a reason. It just comes down to like never giving up.
Yeah, but what I mean is I think most people can't do it. Right?
I believe most people can.
Yeah, but like we can't all do it. We can't all become entrepreneurs. Like somebody has to work the job. Right?
I mean, the way that society's progressing, you see these multi-billion-dollar companies operating with 10 people, 15 people. As everything becomes digitized, you need less workforce and labor. I mean, maybe you will for construction and some of these other ones.
Yeah.
But I think there's much more room out there for entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals than a lot of society wants us to believe. And I think that's done purposely.
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying. I think you're right in that anybody can. Right. For any individual, it's possible. I think when it becomes challenging is, especially if you have kids, because then it's like, fuck, I got to make sure I feed these kids. Right. That's a terrible hurdle. That
definitely is. Because I don't have kids, so I can't put myself in that position.
Yeah.
I do know successful people that have kids. But I would say the majority of people with kids are working a wage job.
Yeah. They need that security. They need the health insurance. And it is a trap, I think. I agree with what you're saying, that we should be able to pursue, fantastic lives. But for a lot of people, I think it's hard. They get in debt. They get in, they get behind, and it's hard to.
Well, and that's also kind of how society's set up, that they sell you on this idea of the American dream, start a family, because they know that when you start a family, they're going to get employees from it. Yeah. So there is a little bit of a mastermind to that. But where society's going now, my generation's having less kids.
Yeah.
They're more about individual liberties and experiences, and why would I bring kids into this world that's already set on fire and isn't going to be here?
Yeah.
So tides could be changing because of that as well.
Yeah.
But I do agree kids are a massive barrier to finding independent success.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility if you want to be a great parent. It takes a lot. So I would say if you're a parent, don't be too risky.
I think I would add in maybe something in the middle. Like I think there's people that they feel stuck, like whether it's a minimum wage job or they have kids and they don't have the time. I think it's about making opportunities for yourself. Not everyone could get lucky, but like say if that parent, if they could set aside 30 minutes a day to read a book to learn programming, read a book to learn something on a new job.
Learn crypto.
Learn crypto. Seriously, that 30 minutes over the span of a year is going to turn into whatever that is. Like 104 hours or whatever my math. That was terrible math.
Say 80 hours. I don't even know.
But
It's $18 billion.
26 hours. So I think it's people shouldn't lose, try not to lose motivation and try to think outside of the box. Don't just get pinned into, oh, I'm an accountant somewhere. Not that you did that, but
I was trapped for a while. Yeah.
If the mindset is that you're stuck, that person, try to think of something else to build your future, build a possibility. I'm always about like, I'll put in a lot of work for that sliver of chance, like, because those sliver of chances, if you get enough of those chances, one of them is going to hopefully hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
a good thing that coffee shop didn't make it.
All right. Next question. A lot easier. What's your favorite food or dish?
Tacos for sure.
Tacos.
You love it. Vegas, Vegas is actually the most taco shop dense city in the country. It's
Really?
like there's like a taco shop for 1 in every 250-ish people.
That's fantastic.
Or something like that. I remember seeing a stat like that on the in one of the internet magazines.
Are you going to Northeast Vegas for like the OG?
Dude, East Side has the best tacos for sure, for sure. And it's not even like a shop. It's like you got to go to like the corner stands,
Yes.
or like the like
behind
the non health card sanctioned taco stands in front of people's houses.
Yeah, behind the used tire shop.
Yeah. Honestly, the best tacos I generally have is like when you're leaving a music festival and there's people like cooking it in the parking lot. They just like set up.
Oh yeah.
Those are like the best.
Yeah. 100%. That and tamales.
Yeah.
Cars
Nice.
and trucks.
Yeah.
Taco shops per capita. Fantastic.
All right.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Wait. Last time I came out to Vegas, or the second to last time, my cousin who lives in Vegas was like, I'm going to take you out for some amazing tacos. And we pulled up to like a shady little fucking C store. And like, it wasn't even like, it didn't look legit at all. I thought I was going to get robbed. 100%. And I didn't get robbed. And I got some of the best street tacos I've ever had in my life. And they were just from some random ass little ghetto looking convenience store.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. They were so good.
If you like food trucks, one of my buddy has a food truck. It's called Raging Tacos. It's
Raging
really good.
Tacos.
Yeah, if you ever see that thing driving around, I highly recommend getting some there.
Dude, I'll rep Pinche's Tacos here in Vegas.
Pinches are good.
Yeah, I'm proud that they vaguely recognize me when I walk in. Like, hey, this guy.
I like taco y taco.
Taco's good.
Yeah, delicious.
All right. Last question. Shout out 2 friends. Who do you think should be on this podcast?
Ooh, one of my good friends, Lacey Cerrone, been helping me. She's like, her handle is called the Las Vegas Gal.
Okay.
In the mid 2010s, 2014, 2016, she had her own podcast, had 2 million downloads.
Wow.
Used that leverage, started a YouTube channel that has like, I don't know, 11,000 subs or something.
Mm-hmm.
She had her own, she like supports small business, Las Vegas. That's like kind of her shtick.
Nice.
She does really well. Who else? Oh my God, there's so many different people to think of.
Yeah, you're an active dude. You're meeting a lot of people.
Yeah, it's you. I'll just show one of my good friends who I think is a good story is one of my fraternity brothers, Stephen Cohen. He's the co-founder of Sunder Energy. When we were in college, he dropped out of the fraternity, dropped out of college to pursue multi-level marketing with Ferv. We all made fun of him.
Yeah.
We were like, join a pyramid scheme, blah, 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 whatever. Made fun. You're never going to make it.
Right.
Did multi-level marketing for 3 years. Ended up going to the East Coast, getting stuck there, had no money. I think he got bailed out by his uncle, flew back here, started working for Sunrun. Over the course of like the next 2 years, built three of the top like 4 solar companies or solar teams across the country. And then left Sunrun, started his own company called Sunder, and now they have like 300 or 400 different employees across the country. And
wow,
it's like one of the best solar recruiting door-to-door companies like in the country now. So
wow.
It's also very young, 27.
Yeah.
And found a lot of success. He's also like a motivational speaker and person like that. So he's somebody he's the only person that's ever proven me wrong. And so I give him a lot of credit. And so, yeah, I always have to bring him up because he's also a great interview as well.
Awesome.
I would actually love to talk to a solar guy because solar energy should be like the easiest slam dunk in the middle of the fucking desert.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a complicated game where it doesn't quite make sense to put one on your house because it's always some lease deal and figuring out the energy and the power companies involved, and it becomes a mess.
And the
real
battery
quick.
technology is just not quite there yet. That's another
Yeah.
problem. Like so you lose a lot of efficiency between the solar cells to the battery and then the battery to the outlet.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll let him explain that to you whenever you have him on. But
Yeah.
the way that solar set up is, it's quite complex.
Yeah.
There's between the multiple leasing agreements or outright buying it and the solar cells and the issue they have with Nevada Power and how Nevada Power doesn't want to relinquish control.
Of course.
And, there's a lot. There's a lot of and then the process because there's the recruiting team, there's the installation, there's the equipment provider. So it's a pretty interesting process for just getting solar panels on your roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Let's call this the official end. Joe, you got a drink or cup or something with you that you
I
can
have
cheers?
a Truly's.
Do you have a bong?
All right, Jake, it was
Cheers,
a
my
pleasure.
friends.
Thank you for spending
Cheers.
3 hours with us.
Yes, thank you,
Cheers.
Jake. It was fun.